Hi, everyone, and welcome to Savanti Institute's Masterclass Program Open House. My name is James Bailey, and I am the founder and director of Savanti Institute. We're really thrilled you're here to learn more about some very special people who've given their lives to the study and practice of Ayurveda. These tireless teachers and practitioners have given decades to the field and to the students and patients who benefit from them. They've written groundbreaking books and advanced our knowledge and understanding of life. A masterclass program like ours can only be effective if master instructors lead it. There are many brilliant Ayurvedic clinicians out there, and many don't teach. There are also others who teach but don't practice clinically. A master teacher is one who has developed a profound personal understanding of Ayurveda, and from that has refined the art of teaching it over decades. Ayurveda is a complex subject with a rich history, a profound philosophy, and applications that are both clinically and personally life-changing. It takes years to master, and very few have seen its depths. We just so happen to have 10 master instructors in our program. In this open house, we're going to give each of them roughly 15 minutes to share their wisdom and what inspires them about Ayurveda. In truth, I wish we had an hour for each. I think that might be a little too much to listen to 6, 8 hours of interviews, but this fall, my plan is to conduct extended interviews and share those recordings with you on our website as well as on our YouTube channel. But for now, we'll keep it brief. We are honored to have these incredible life mentors, each with decades of wisdom and experience to share with you all. We hope you all take away at least a few gems and insights. Before we do that, I want to first introduce my co-host, Laura Plum. Laura has been with Savanti now for 8 years. She teaches two of our masterclass courses. One is our primary Ayurvedic nutrition course, and the other is on Ayurvedic cooking, which she teaches from her vibrant, life-filled kitchen, which is a lot of fun. We couldn't have had a more perfect instructor for those courses. Laura is the author of a best-selling book, her best-selling book, Ayurveda Cooking for Beginners, and she is the director and instructor of her Ayurvedic Integrative Nutrition program. She's also one of the most well-rounded educators in all of the Vedic arts. She teaches and consults in Ayurveda, Jyotish, or Vedic astrology, yoga therapy, and whole food cooking and nutrition. Um, she's a vast and profound well of knowledge. It was her inspiration that made this open house happen. So, Laura, we thank you. Thank you so much for that inspiration. For those of you who are new to Savanti Institute, we are an online Ayurveda education platform dedicated to sharing these great teachings to everyone in the comfort of your home. We aim to provide the highest quality master teachers in each course field. We include nothing less than authors, leaders, educators, and clinical masters. The idea is to distill and to share their decades of knowledge into a simplified format for beginners, empowering you to live a healthier, happier, and more fulfilling life. Our courses are designed for beginners, focusing on self-care, family wellness, and deeper life insights, as well as for those who are curious or interested or seeking to train as an Ayurvedic counselor professional. In addition to the masterclass program, we offer an optional clinical supervision program, a one-year training course designed to help individuals become certified as Ayurvedic counselors. We also collaborate with Savanti Wellness to create a practitioner community that supports the transition and development of students into practitioners, providing our graduates with a platform to practice and to thrive. So the masterclass program you're about to hear about is unique among similar programs because of its highly talented master instructors. Its teachings are offered over one weekend per month for 15 months. The next program starts in August, on August 15th, and the masterclass courses are offered in live webinar formats on Zoom, and we provide unlimited access to the course recordings, allowing you to stream at your leisure and just stay up to date in general in case you miss anything. So you have that option to attend all the live webinars and also to stream the recorded formats. So our course topics include Ayurvedic nutrition, herbal remedies, natural home remedies, Ayurvedic lifestyle, philosophy, women's health, cleansing practices, Ayurvedic psychology, Jyotish, and aromatherapy, among others, each with its own master instructor. If you have an interest in joining us, please reach out to me or any of our instructors with your name and your email address. You can email me at jamesb@savantiinstitute.com, or you can reach out through our website's contact form. So now for the part you've all been waiting for, meeting our incredible instructors. We're so proud to have such a talented and passionate team of experts here at Savanti. Over the next 90 minutes or so, we'll be interviewing each instructor to learn more about their background, their teaching style, and their area of expertise. And more importantly, what inspires them to practice and to teach Ayurveda. To kick things off, let's welcome our first instructor, Claire Ragazzino. And thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Out of the way.
Right.
Hey, good. We can start all over again and say, hi, Claire.
Right. Well, let me just say for those who are watching this, we wanted to welcome you to the Savanti Institute Masterclass Open House, and we're here to spend some time with our incredible instructors and get to know them and let them share what excites them about life and about teaching Ayurveda and what Ayurveda has brought to their lives. And hopefully we can take some of those into heart and into our lives as well. So, and I'm here with my co-host Laura Plum, and we're going to start our first interview with Claire Ragazzino. And Claire, you teach a couple courses for us. You teach the Living Ayurveda program, which is the lifestyle, and appropriately the very first course that we offer in the series. So it's really nice to start that out with a, a look at how to integrate it into our lives, and also how it integrates into other types of sort of lifestyle choices like yoga, the yogic lifestyle, and proper nutrition, healthy eating, and things like that. So tell us a little bit about what you bring to that, and why did you write a book called Living Ayurveda, and what does your lifestyle look like as an Ayurveda person, so to speak?
Right, great question. I think the real juice in Ayurveda is how we show up with it in in our day to day, right? So much of Ayurveda teaches us on a very practical, fundamental level how to move with time, how to start our day, how to move through our day, how to stay grounded as things are whirling around us, be it tsunamis or missed meals or business lunches or picking up your kids from whatever activity you have to do or caregiving. There's a lot of demands in our life. And there's also a lot of whirl of information about how to live a life these days. And I find it can be quite confusing for me. Ayurveda has anchored into these rituals that I partake in throughout the day to keep me healthy, right? That's svasta, to be seated in our health. And Ayurveda has given me a very practical outline for how to do that. It's not rigid. It's not, it doesn't have to be strict. It doesn't have to be something that you become overly perfectionist around. And so I think that within the living is learning about yourself and how not another person in this course, not me, not James, not Laura, but really uniquely how it applies to you and what your body needs and how to move a little bit more gracefully through your days. So the Living Ayurveda module that we kick off this program with is about kind of returning to the foundational basics and really looking at how you're navigating your day, how to make it really practical for you because whether you're, a well-studied practitioner with decades of experience, or whether you're just new to Ayurveda, all of these foundational principles apply to you. And I know, I'm sure, James, Laura, you've gone through your decades of practice and self-inquiry, and it continues to evolve and change, but likely you're still moving through your days with this wisdom and when you eat and when you move and how you sleep. And I know for me, it's really radically changed how I navigate life and how I feel as I do so. So Living Ayurveda takes us through that. And the book that I wrote about this kind of weaves in food, it weaves in breath, it weaves in movement, it weaves in these kind of rituals that yoke us with time, understanding the movement of the sun and the moon through our courses of our day or through the changes of the seasons. And so this Living Ayurveda module will really help you anchor into your dinacharya, your daily routines, your ratricharya, your night routines. It will bring in some of those practices that are very practical around breath. It will look at movement practices according to the doshas. So we have a day that's focused around daily routines. We have a day that's focused around food and how that anchors into that, and how our movement and breath practices and energy management practices anchor into that. So over the course of those 3 days, you'll walk away with hopefully a very grounded understanding of not so many Sanskrit terms you feel overwhelmed, but really what does the Sanskrit look like within your body and how you can apply those to your routines. We all have different needs, we all have different responsibilities, and the practices should be able to feel um, attainable in your life so you can live it. And so as you move through all of the different cycles of life, these things that you'll keep returning to, these tools that you return to and feel anchored in yourself and have great health as a result. So that's one of the courses that we begin with. And then we'll meet back closer towards the end of the program to talk about cleansing. And cleansing is really how I got into Ayurveda. I came to Ayurveda with a series of digestive health problems that doctors couldn't figure out at a very young age. That led me to a series of restrictive diets, gluten-free, vegan, raw vegan. I did extreme juice fasts for, days or weeks on end. I did all the supplements, all the superfoods, all the stringent yoga practices, and I still hadn't healed my digestion. Little did I know all of those extreme cleanses I was doing was only aggravating the vata in my body more. And when I found Ayurveda, I really started to examine and learn the Ayurvedic approach to cleansing and rebuilding the body. Such a key point to that process. And so when we look at our cleansing module, we'll kind of look at some of the systems that are involved that our body uses every day to cleanse, how they can become overburdened, this concept of ama, clearing the ama out with everyday home kitchen spices and herbs and things. And then we'll take a kind of a light look at Ayurveda's panchakarma practices and get a better understanding of this more holistic approach to cleansing that isn't just about weight loss or lightening the body, but really restoring the body to good health. And so I'm very passionate about that topic, and it's something I really love to share because I think we're missing the restoration, the rebuilding, the rasayana, the nourishment aspects, and that's something that we'll really look at more in that module. So those are the two programs that I teach, and there's lots of goodness packed in between those two, and I'm gonna get to see you at the beginning and towards the end, and it's really nice to touch back in
Yeah.
along the way.
Can you make a distinction, Claire? You said we don't do so much of the nourishing. I think Ayurveda does. Are you meaning that our culture is not so?
Yes, our culture. I would say our culture is a very, what we say, Langana focused culture. Weight
Mm,
Mhm.
loss, all the lightening, all the things that um, have its role and purpose,
mm,
but sometimes we become hyper focused on them and exacerbate certain health issues rather than restoring the body as a result. So when I say we, I'm speaking to pop culture, all the things we're seeing on social media, all the trends that have been around for decades. My good friend is visiting me right now from Mexico. She's an Ayurvedic practitioner as well. And we were just kind of chuckling at all the different, stringent diets that have popped up in our culture, and particularly our American Western culture, where we don't have a very anchored food culture. We don't have a lot of social systems built in around food. And so there becomes a lot of confusion around eating and we don't feel well. I think that we swing to very extreme diets. For me, Ayurveda's really helped me return to that middle path approach more and to understand that every food has its role and every, practice has its role as well. and to understand for whom and when and how to use that appropriately. So when I say we, I'm speaking to that collective, but then the collective wisdom of the Ayurveda will hopefully help us dispel any of that confusion and understand how to really work with all substances at the right time for the right reason.
There, you touched on something that really touches my heart, and I just want to ask you a little bit about this. I was in an interview with somebody a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and she mentioned how she used to love Ayurveda, but it became too strict for her.
Mm.
And it kind of broke my heart. I know that's a strong thing to say, but I've heard that from other people, that they somehow come to think that Ayurveda is this really strict, hard discipline. And yet when I hear you speak, I'm not hearing that. Would you mind elaborating a bit on your thoughts there?
Absolutely. This is also a topic that's dear to my heart. And in fact, I'm writing another book on it, an Ayurvedic cookbook that will hopefully help dispel some of those myths about Ayurveda being this very rigid and punishing pathway. Most people see Ayurveda just as a diet. It's so much more than a diet. And I think there are some very foundational tools that you'll learn and you'll be, reinforced along the course of your training of the gunas, these 20 qualities. And for me, food definitely took a very polarizing approach. This was good, this was bad. I can't eat this, I can't eat that. I should only have celery juice, and I should only have this salad, or I should only have these herbs, or I need to do my Ashtanga yoga practice. And if I'm not doing primary series and second series, I'm not doing yoga. And, the mind can take this very rigid approach towards it. And perhaps um, when you're learning something new, it can feel overwhelming. There's so many things that I can't do. I can't eat fruit unless it's cooked or at this hour. I can't have this because I'm Vata, but I'm in this season and I'm not really sure. I mean, what I really found is that the gunas are a very practical framework for coming back to your body, for knowing this is how I'm feeling, this is what I need, this is what this food, which possesses a certain quality or action, will have on my body. And if I'm needing this, then I can select this food or this breath practice or this mental approach to my yoga practice or this, this tone as I speak towards myself. There's all these different ways that we can approach our practice, and it becomes much more effective when we're not living from this very rigid, rule-based, right and wrong approach. I love that in Ayurveda, anything can be a medicine or a poison, depending on how you're working with it. And so the Living Ayurveda course that we start with really goes into looking at the gunas as it applies to your food, to your breath, to your movement, to how you're sleeping, and looking and really creating that practice of self-inquiry. What do I need? What do I need today? If I had rigidly held to the same yoga practice I was doing in my teens or 20s, it wouldn't really be appropriate for what I need today, as it's not going to be appropriate what I'm doing today in my 70s or 80s or 90s or hundreds, God willing. And I think that we often feel we can't succeed when we set ourselves up with these very harsh, strict boundaries of right and wrong. And I think Ayurveda and this language of the gunas really helps dissolve that when you're more in that present moment of what am I feeling? What do I need? And that the daily rituals that we create each morning when we check in with ourselves can kind of help us meter what's needed. And something that feels very vast and overwhelming, like a whole new language, right? Many of us don't speak Sanskrit, so we're coming to this, learning a lot of new, unfamiliar words. My recommendation is always to start with your own body and use those words as it applies to yourself. And then all of a sudden it doesn't become overwhelming and it feels much more attainable. And I find when something isn't so rigid, there isn't really a sense of, oh, I've fallen off the wagon, I might as well just ditch this whole thing altogether. It's kind of, it's much more sustainable in the
Mhm.
sense of what can I do today? How can I
Mhm.
stay grounded in this moment of what I need, this day of what I need?
Mhm.
And yeah, it makes me sad when we think that there are all of these strict rules around it, because I don't think that's the original intention behind
Mm.
these this the classical text
Yeah.
system of it. So
Yeah.
my hope and through this program is that everyone takes away a more expanded view of these practices that really serve you in your life as you navigate all the things that come to you in your life.
Mhm. All the things, this life in a human body, right? I feel like Ayurveda is that,
Mm.
mastering life in a human body.
It really is that. It's a manual for just how to be alive, right?
Mhm.
Ayurveda, the
Yeah.
it's a science, but it's also this living science, this living wisdom that we're each participating in and keeping alive when we
Yeah.
choose to study and to live in these ways.
I know we don't have that much more time, but could we? I love your origin story. I love how you came to Ayurveda. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, I saw someone asked in the chat as well what my education and clinical background is and what brought me to become a teacher. Um, Gosh, I would say my own suffering brought me to this practice, right? We often don't feel well, and it drives us to make changes in our lives. And that came to me at a pretty young age. I had a lot of health problems as a child and as a teenager that led me to all the cleansing practices I was sharing in my early teens and trying to resolve a lot of the really painful digestive problems I had. I was lucky enough that my mother, who was a pilot at the time, she was a helicopter mechanic and a pilot and a bush pilot in Alaska where I grew up. She's a very like, we can do it kind of woman. She found yoga. She was in a near fatal car accident. And in the early 90s, there was one yoga teacher in the area. And she brought that into my life. And I'm so grateful that through my own mother, that was my introduction and lineage into the Vedas. And so I would go to class with her and practice chanting and try new hatha yoga practices. And eventually it kind of became my own pathway, which led me towards Ashtanga yoga, which is a particular style of yoga. And I became very devoted to that and maybe very rigid in that pathway for a little while. Had some injuries that led me to yoga therapy and became a yoga therapist from there. And along that pathway, I was always very fascinated with food and cooking. I grew up in Alaska. As I mentioned, my parents had a sustainable seafood restaurant, and um, food and agriculture was always something that really ignited my heart and how we can all connect around the table through food, no matter where we live and what language we speak. And eventually, I went to India and deepened my knowledge in yoga and was more introduced to Ayurveda then, and came back. I studied with Dr. Vasant Lad. I studied a little bit with Dr. Svoboda and Dr. Claudia Welch, who was my women's health mentor. And am, I think, forever going to be a student of this practice because there's so much to know. And so I'm continuing my studies as well with um, several different teachers, but I can share more of my educational background from there. But I'm so grateful to be a student of this knowledge and to be able to share and teach. I very much feel like a student alongside each and every one of you, because every time I'm in these class spaces, just the rich conversations and dialogue that come from it help me to think about things in another way, or help me to pull my texts off the shelf and reference them again and look at them. And so I really appreciate certain teachers too that really share these classical texts and help you, crack those open for yourselves. And this is what I hope to share in the training. So that's it in a nutshell. I know we've got limited time here, but hopefully that.
You are a beautiful embodiment of the Vidya. Truly you are. You speak to it so beautifully. You show it to us in your beautiful art and your artistic way. And I'm so grateful for all the ways in which you enlighten and empower others by being here. So thank you. Thank you, Claire.
Thank
Thank
you, Claire.
Thank you for
That's
bringing
wonderful.
such a wonderful group of teachers together. And I hope anyone who's considering the training jumps in because you won't regret getting to have more time with Laura and with James and with Arun and everyone else that participates here. Thank you so much for having me today. And I'm going to just
Thank you.
stay listening into some other great stories.
Nice. Thank you, Claire. So great. Shadden says, Claire, I have your book. Her book is called Living Ayurveda. So if anybody wants to get that book, if you don't already have it, it's a very beautiful book.
Great book.
Yeah. Nice.
Thanks. Thanks, Claire. Appreciate it. Okay. Well, it's amazing what you can do in 15 minutes. What a journey. Claire, thank you. So next we have another great teacher, part of a family lineage of teachers in the well-known Shirsagar family, who has produced some of the great Ayurvedic teachers. Let me find Manas. Hold on.
The
I
famous.
scroll through all of these.
Hi, everybody.
Hello,
Oh,
Manas. Hello.
there he is. Let me spotlight him. Can people tell me if oops, that's not what I meant to do. That did a spotlight replacement. Hold on. Brew spotlight. I want to bring all three of us in. So I'll
You had it there when you had Claire up.
was Claire spotlighted?
That's what I saw. It looked like the three of us. Is that what others saw?
There's
Yeah, that's what I think.
Manas, there's me, and there is Laura.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Beautiful.
Welcome, Manas. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It's so nice to see everybody together.
It's a great group, and yeah, this is an amazing thing to put everyone up for such a deep, journey into their life stories. And I was just saying before that we got distracted by the spotlighting that you come from a family of Ayurvedic practitioners. Your sister, I believe, is a naturopath. Am I right?
Correct.
You're an Ayurvedic doctor. Mom and dad are Ayurvedic doctors. They're also, all three of you are on faculty at Savanti Institute. You are like the bonus that we got with your mom and dad. And we, I'm just, yeah. So Manas teaches a course we call counseling chikitsa. Chikitsa means to treat or the therapies or remedies. You can tell us more about that, Manas. But I wanted a course, and I wanted Manas to teach a course on how to approach Ayurvedic kind of healing or mediation or treatments, self-care more than anything for 30 or 40 of the most common illnesses that we find out here in the US. And yeah, so Manas came in and he's far exceeded being younger than his parents. There's always that one question like, he's young, does he have it? And absolutely he has it. I'm sure your dad would say you're getting smarter than I am, young man. So, and I'm
We
sure your
won't admit to that yet.
mom. So anyway, thanks for being with us, Manas. It's a pleasure to have you.
Of course. And it's such a beautiful course that James, we've put together because, as a lot of you are probably already aware, students are drawn towards Ayurveda because of their own health ailments. And there
Mhm.
was a large group study that was done. Um, and what we were seeing was students of Ayurveda, the majority of them garnered interest because of how much Ayurveda helped them in their personal life.
Mm.
Mhm.
And this course is really a reflection of that. How to use Ayurveda as a template for not only the preventative aspects that I believe Ayurveda excels at, but also looking at the stages of disease, trying to figure out which stage of disease you're in, if certain doshas have spread to different parts of the body, and getting a deeper understanding of how to heal yourself. And that's what this counseling chikitsa is all about. Even if you're not interested in practicing Ayurveda as a profession, this program, this course specifically is extremely beneficial because it teaches you things like uh, basic rasayanas, right? Things that you can do for longevity. It helps you get a better understanding of diet, herbs, the what we call multimodality approach that we can use, like Claire was saying, whether it's breath work, whether it's yoga asanas, whether it's diet, routines, different types of oils. All of these are aspects that we use in order to not only treat disease, but prevent disease. One of the things that this course also talks about is how important it is to be self-aware. And I'm sure all of us who are on this call have a basic understanding of what self-referral process means and how important that is to Ayurveda, and it's the consciousness-based approach. And chikitsa, the treatments of some of these, what we would consider popular lifestyle disorders, stem from a lack of that awareness. Right? You have small symptoms that come and go. If you miss sleep for one night, you probably won't think anything of it. You start missing sleep a couple times a week, probably still wouldn't think anything of it. But you can't sleep for a week in a row. Okay, well, now it has your attention. If you are seeing a spike in your blood sugar levels in your annual physical, it's borderline, maybe 5.8, 5.9, right? Pre-diabetic condition, you probably wouldn't think anything of it. Your doctor probably brushes it off. We'll check in another year. And then slowly creeps up to 6.1 maybe, right? And you're starting to see the negative trend. This is the understanding that a lot of people need to grasp, is the more self-aware you become on your daily habits, your daily routines, the cumulative aspect of who you are as a whole, all of your habits put together, right? That is what Ayurveda is all about. And this course helps to give you a clear understanding of how to reverse some of these lifestyle diseases.
Brilliant. Yeah. And a lot of these approaches are very easy to do. They're actually things that we can do for ourselves at home. We don't need complicated clinical environments. We don't need obviously hospitals. These are things that we can, with some guidelines and some guidance, we can do for ourselves, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. These are not panchakarma treatments, therapies, not even very potent herbal formulas or complicated mixtures, compounds, anything like that. Food changes, dietary changes, herbs that you probably already have in your kitchen pharmacy, exercise routines that are dosha specific or vikruti specific, right? If somebody's experiencing a severe vata imbalance, even if they have a pitta or kapha prakriti, they should still be doing some of those slower exercises. Things like that, things that you can do on your own, just with a little bit more guidance.
What are some examples of the topics that you cover? You said there's sort of the list of the most common ailments, and you're looking at, yeah.
We chose all of the lifestyle disorders. So everything from diabetes, high cholesterol, dyslipidemia, hypertension, to things like arthritis and musculoskeletal issues, skin conditions, insomnia, headaches, anxiety, depression, some of the ones that we see almost on a daily basis. And so we learn causative factor, we learn hetu, nidana, samprapti, we learn how to identify the proper treatment protocols, any herbal formulations, if any differential diagnostics are needed, depending on the stage of disease that they're in, dinacharya, routine, do's and don'ts, same thing with diet and lifestyle. A big one is early signs and sort of what to look for, especially if you have a family history of, say, I don't know, arthritis or high blood pressure, right? Some of the more common ones. What to look for, because what I'm seeing, especially my generation, people in their 30s, 40s, they are on the path of things going either very right or very wrong very quickly. Right. And so if they're aware of their diet, if they're aware of their routine, they eat clean, they move their body, they get adequate rest, manage their stress, they are setting themselves up for success. They just need small, minor tweaks. Right. And then there's the other who either don't know about Ayurveda or don't have any sort of a holistic approach to health. They eat whatever they want when they want. They don't have a set routine or schedule. They have a sedentary job or sedentary lifestyle. And they're starting to see these symptoms sort of compound and stack on top of each other and think to themselves, oh, I was perfectly healthy 3 years ago. I don't know what's happening all of a sudden. Not knowing that this has been brewing for a lot longer than just those 3 years.
It sounds so practical. You know, as you said earlier, James, this is where the rubber meets the road. It sounds so practical and essential that I'm thinking it almost sounds like a 3-day course that should be taught in every high school in America. Right? Before we send people off into their adulthood, how about learn a little bit more about your health and how to keep yourself healthy? It's beautiful. I'm curious, you don't have to tell us how old you are. You said somewhere in your 30s and 40s. James mentioned you being on the younger end of the faculty, but I'm wondering if, however old you are, is it fair to say, let's make up a number, maybe you're
34.
34. So you're 34. Is it fair to say you've kind of been doing Ayurveda for 34 years? I mean, you grew up in an Ayurvedic family with
I
2
wouldn't
daughters.
go that far, but my childhood was very different. Let's say that.
Not like your typical California kid.
Oh no, there was no Neosporin or Band-Aids. It was turmeric powder and castor oil packs. I was the weird kid who ordered hot water when we went to Chuck E. Cheese birthday party. Whenever I got sick, it was always just grandma's recipes and disgusting teas, what I thought at the time. Now I miss them every time I'm traveling.
Sweet.
And so, yeah, childhood was very different. I didn't consider it a form of medicine or any structure to it. I thought this was just decoctions and concoctions that my grandmothers were cooking up in the kitchen. And that was a big part of it, right? It all started with diet. And for those of you that already have an Ayurvedic background, you know how much of disease and imbalance starts in the gut. And if you're able to catch it early on, especially when you're a kid, you know, you don't have too many of these imbalances. It's easier to treat when the doshas are still in the gut. And so it was always just kitchen pharmacies. And it wasn't probably until maybe middle school, late middle school. Another fun fact about me was I grew up in the Transcendental Meditation movement, the TM movement. And so I learned walking TM when I was 6 years old, right? Even before they could get a kid to sit down and meditate for 20 minutes twice a day, they would walk you around the halls of the school. And every time your left foot hit the ground, you would repeat your mantra. Right. And so that's how they taught us.
Nice.
And so up until probably 7th, 8th grade, I would meditate regularly with my parents. Before dinner, we would shut off all the lights, just sit there 20 minutes, you know, one eye open, looking at my parents, kind of a thing. And then it got to a point where all of a sudden I was very busy. I had chores, extracurriculars, sports, homework, and I didn't have time. Right. And for a 6-month period, I got very angry. I was a very bitter child because everybody started doing a little bit better than me in school. Everybody started doing a little bit better than me training in basketball and tennis. And I couldn't figure out why. My mother, angel of a woman, you'll hear from her in a little bit, but would very gently always just, hey, why don't you sit down and meditate? Why don't you sit down and meditate? I think it was, I don't know, before a tennis match or something. I had some time. And so I sat down, meditated, 1 out and 1. Thought, okay, well, maybe there is something to this. And sort of that snowball effect created a lifestyle for me that I am so grateful now, looking back, to have that foundation, to have that knowledge, and just awareness, or ability rather, to have awareness, to build awareness, because of my parents and my family and the surroundings that I was in.
Mm. But when did you realize you wanted to yourself become an Ayurvedic doctor?
Oh, I always wanted to be a real doctor. I didn't want to do
Ah.
this hippie medicine that my parents did, right? Um, and so I went to medical school, and
Mhm.
I figured out very quickly that the the type of medicine that we're being taught is so different from what my parents have practiced. My parents would give out their cell phone numbers. People would pay on a sliding scale. They would come to the house. People would pay, barter exchange, pay with whatever fruits and veggies that they had, art sometimes. And it was very different. My parents knew everything about these people, right? Their entire family, their children, their history, all of it. And that is not what I was being taught at all, in the slightest. On the contrary, they tell you not to get too personal with your patients, only ask relevant information, keep a professional distance, et cetera, et cetera. And so it was during that ethics class that I realized that I want more out of medicine. I want to help and treat, and heal.
Mhm.
Wow, that's beautiful.
I had one of my earliest teachers was one of the things he said to me that stuck forever was, if you want to treat symptoms, become a doctor. If you want to treat people, become a sage. And
Mm.
that's what you were called to
Became the
do.
best of both.
Yeah, well, you can do both. That's right. That's right.
Wow, beautiful. Well, Manas, is there anything you could offer to those listening that is something they could do this evening or this week that might be a little take home just to keep themselves healthy and vibrant?
I was thinking about this question all week. Okay. And I was like, what can you do that will instantly allow you to get a glimpse of Ayurveda?
Mm.
And the one thing that I came up with was asking yourself, what is your primary focus in life right now?
Mm.
Okay. Because when you ask yourself what you're most focused on, whether it's work, whether it's family, whether it's your health, it could be something like losing weight, it could be something like cooking at home more, whatever your biggest focus is, it will give you an insight as to where your attention goes, energy flows. And that's what Ayurveda is all about. Right?
Mm.
You're able to shed light on different aspects of your life that have been cast aside, put on the back burner, right? And bringing them to the forefront, you will get instant acknowledgement of your priorities.
Mm.
Um, my wife and I are expecting a child, and
Have you heard?
biggest primary focus right now is the nursery.
Mhm.
And so everything else, including sports, including extracurriculars, spending time with friends, has taken a back seat. This is all we do after work now, is prep the nursery. Right? And that's where all of our attention is. That's where all of our energy is going. We're trying to create this little cocoon. Right?
Mhm.
And so once you pinpoint where your attention is, you'll figure out where your energy is going. Okay. And then you're able to see exactly what you need to do in order to uplift or raise some of the other avenues of your life that need a little bit more care.
Right. Beautiful. When's the baby due?
First week
Yeah.
of September.
When's
Wow,
that?
congratulations, Manas.
First
That's
week of September, baby girl.
Oh,
oh, I'm gonna be a
congratulations.
dad. That's
I know. That's exciting.
Yes.
Little
uh,
Irish baby.
best thing in life, best thing in the world.
Yeah.
Well,
And
Manas, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
thank you, Manas. It's good
It's
to
been a
see you.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Encourage each and every one of you, whether you're a student already or not. Everything that James and the team have put together, all of the faculty is absolutely incredible. It is, like you said, a little family, and we will support you in all of your endeavors, and you are in the best of hands.
Mhm.
Mm, so
Yeah.
true. Thank you. Appreciate it. Now we move on to your mother. Let me find
Perfect.
Manisha.
Manas to Manisha.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Manas.
Yeah.
Okay, Manisha, we're
And Dr.
bringing.
Manisha got a nice intro there from her son.
Yeah,
Hey,
look at
Debbie
she.
G. I
Is
didn't
she?
even see
Hello.
you there.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Manisha.
Do you
Hi,
hear me?
Manisha. Yes, I'm looking for you. I'm trying to spotlight you. I'm trying to find your. Oh, there you are. I'm going to spotlight you. Hold on. Here we go. Yes, there you are. Welcome.
Hello.
Wonderful. So good to see you, Laura and James and everyone
It's so good to see you.
after a long time.
I remember talking to you when Manas was a teenager and asking you, what is it like to be of this lineage, so to speak, the way you live your life and be raising your children in California? I remember we had this conversation and now look at him. He's the flowering of your great wisdom in many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have a.
Time flies, and now he's expecting a baby.
Yeah.
Oh, you must be so excited.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Yes, yes.
Mm,
Wow. But we're
So,
so glad
thank
to have
you.
you. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for putting it together.
Yeah, no,
James.
this is fun. This
Yeah.
has been fun.
Mhm.
This has been really fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're so honored to have you here, not only tonight, but in our masterclass program in general.
Mm.
You've been with us since the beginning, for 8 years now. Dr. Manisha has been, traditionally, she was teaching the women's health course that we have, but she's now starting in this next cycle or group. She's teaching also the prenatal and postpartum Ayurveda.
Oh.
We're really excited about. I know you wanted to teach that before because you told me, and I had a feeling it would come back around for you. So we're really excited to hear what you have to share for all that Ayurveda has to say about life and procreation and healthy pregnancies and healthy babies and mothers and healthy women in general. So yeah, thank you for being a part of this team.
Thank
And
you.
how
Thank you.
auspicious. How auspicious that you're launching into this just as you're about to have a grandbaby.
I know. I know.
Dr. Manisha, can you tell us a little bit about the Ayurveda perspective on l- babies, basically, in general? I mean, I find it so beautiful, it almost moves me to tears when I'm in studies. I'd love to hear what it is about this prenatal, postnatal that you enjoy teaching or what that you appreciate most about it.
Yeah, so this Ayurvedic science is so fascinating, and especially when it comes to women's health and babies. So when we talk about baby care or prenatal and postnatal, then you need to go back, like how, if someone wants to plan, then how they will plan means when they will plan. And you do astrology, so you see their charts and what are the transitions and like that. And Ayurveda gives more emphasis of doing proper diet and dinacharya and panchakarma. So before they conceive, they have to do this, and then make sure all their systems and hormones are in place, in balance, then and then only. And it's not only about physical, but it's about mental and emotional, social, financial. There are, because what I see in my practice, there are so many new couples. They are ready. Actually, they are not in time nowadays, but I would say, because everybody is kind of, oh no, we will wait, because they want to, they are still settling down, they're from their job, and no, I need to buy a house, and I need to financially get more secured and love. And they do, means it's when they come around their 35, around 40, and then they realize, oh, I want a baby. And then I ask them, oh, where were you before? It's not in time, it's too late. Means we will try, but so Ayurveda talks about, like, the proper age and proper season when you should conceive. And then, so in order to conceive, in order to have a healthy baby, you really, really need to do so many things, because if you want to really bring a healthy child on this earth, you really need to work hard. And Ayurveda has so much details, means modern medicine, they don't have any idea.
Mhm.
And we have so much to offer, so much to offer.
Mm.
What they should eat, what their lifestyle should be, how they should do panchakarma, and some social things also, because it's a lot of support. Because what I grew up in India and what I see it's lacking is like support system. Yeah,
Mm.
because there is always fear in new couple, is like, oh, how am I going to take care of my baby, how am I going to go to my work again, how I will get back my body back, all these, there are so many things, there is fear, there are, so many questions. So support system is also needed. So all these things is like, we need to put these pieces of puzzles. And then, but Ayurveda made it very easy, and if you know, then, and if you follow, everything gets easier and easier.
Mhm.
I see. I had many clients that they were looking for, or they, it was difficult for them to get pregnant. But after 3, 4, 5 years, after panchakarma, after diet, after proper lifestyle, yeah, they got big,
Mm.
healthy babies.
It's
What
beautiful.
are some of the
And
most
we have very
common?
good, I have very good stories, and I feel so happy and kind of satisfaction that I helped someone, like,
Yeah.
Sure,
yeah.
of course.
So uh, Ayurveda is fascinating, and we really, in modern medicine, we lack these things. I mean, simple things. So last week I had a baby, and he had diaper rash, and mom called me, and then she said, doctor gave me this antibiotic, but I don't want to use, and then baby is crying and I don't know what to do, and this, and I told her, just apply a little bit ghee, just do massage with ghee. And then she did it couple days, and then after the third day she called me so happy, oh my god, all the rash has gone. I never think about it, means what I'm saying is just a little things, but
Mhm.
it's amazing science, amazing science.
Mm. Mm.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I think we've lost some of that natural kind of approach to healing around pregnancies and babies because I think there's such sort of a concern with, how delicate pregnancies are, and we don't want to do things that interfere with the health of the baby or the mother. So we kind of get really kind of conservative with treatment around pregnancy. But in Ayurveda, they've been doing this for thousands of years. It was the only way to treat and to
Yeah,
manage health in pregnant women. So I mean, the natural remedies don't aren't as risky as people think they are. So I mean, that's a perfect example.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I had heard, I studied some this pre and postnatal with Dr. Sarita of Nepal. And she mentioned, and I wonder if you might speak to this, how as soon as a woman is said to be pregnant or discovers she's pregnant, the whole village shows up,
Oh
all
yes,
bearing gifts, and they massage her feet and her head, because they know that the health of a woman during pregnancy determines the health of that child for their entire life.
Mm.
oh yes,
At 75, their health is still determined by the health of that woman. And so that's what brought me to tears.
yes.
'Cause I don't think we have that here. Here it's a woman.
No, here we are very isolated and no support. And in India means, so during my daughter, so when I was pregnant, so we were in France, we were working for Mercy Movement. And they said, okay, we will do your delivery here. So stay here. There are excellent hospitals and this and that. And your daughter will get citizenship, green card, whatever it is. And so I said, no, I want to go to India because, I know how privileged is that. After delivery, the massages they do for babies and for mom, and they take care everybody, like you said, the whole village. uh, it's like everybody will bring, some neighbor will bring today this soup, other one will bring tomorrow this thing. It's so much love and care and sharing. And so, and I remember when I grew up, both of my kids in India, like till 1 year, but both of them were not with me.
Mm.
Means they were always with someone else. And I need to tell them, oh, I need my baby, give me
Bring it
that
back.
kind of thing.
Yes. Yes.
So there are many people in India, they will take care. And that's really means what I see nowadays, this modern science is talking about this microbiome. Okay. And so
Mm.
you need to handle baby, means different people if handle baby, then all the different microbiomes baby will get.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So during a naming ceremony, what we have in India, it's in India, we do a big naming ceremony. And that time, many people, so they get baby, they say the name, whatever is the name, they say the name, and they give that baby to other person. That the other person will say the name, and they will give it to other person. Like that is like 3, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 people. So like that kind of good microbiomes, different microbiomes
Nice.
Mhm.
baby will get. So, there are so many different things. Uh, this knowledge is amazing, Ayurveda, what it is, especially for these women's health and for these babies, prenatal, postnatal. It's amazing.
Yeah. When
Mhm.
I was studying with you and
They
Suhas, we
will
had
learn so many things. They will learn so many things.
so many. You're all
I'm
good.
so excited to teach this.
Manisha, when I was studying with you and Suhas, one weekend we had a baby actually come. I don't know if you remember, but it was a real tragedy. But we brought the baby in and we were all massaging. Can you speak to that? The power of massage? Why do we do that in Ayurveda with our babies?
By the way, that baby is doing amazing. It's not baby anymore. He's grown up now, and
Wow.
he's doing absolutely normal. Normal means you won't believe that he had that kind of condition. Yes,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
So, during the development of fetus during fourth month, when nervous system, your brain and spinal cord forms, the same neurotransmitter with that same thing, your skin forms. Okay. So whatever you put, so there are same neurotransmitters on your skin and in your brain and spinal cord. So when you do massage to your, skin, so this touch is a loving touch. And so it really goes or reaches to your nervous system, to your brain, and it calms down your nervous system. Okay. And especially, so newborn babies, if you do massage, so it's all about love, it's all about nourishment. Because when you apply anything on your skin, is the largest organ, means nourishment is through breast milk, but apart from that, through skin. And when you apply nice warm herbal oil, so that helps to develop all babies systems, and especially nervous system. Because for newborn babies, actually it is a kind of shock when they come out, because 9 months they are in a dark womb. Yeah.
Mhm.
And when they come out, so that's why in India, for newborn babies, and after delivery, we keep at least 1 month or 2 month in a kind of dark room or something, because it is kind of shocking to baby's nervous system.
Mm.
And that's why when they do massage, it helps to develop all their systems in physically, mentally, emotionally, everything, and especially nervous system, because nervous system is really delicate. All their senses are really delicate. They are not fully developed yet.
Mhm.
And so massage really helps that.
Beautiful.
You know, in olden days, they didn't have incubators. Yeah. Nowadays here, if we have preterm,
Mhm.
then they put it in incubators. Yeah.
Mhm.
With light and everything. But in olden days, they used to do massages only with oil and, you know, the pindasweda, the rice potali, and they used to do massage with that. So that was their incubator.
Wow.
And that's how the baby, preterm baby, you used to grow.
Good. Yeah. Wow. It's holy. It feels so sacred just being in this, just
It
listening
is,
to you.
it is.
It's a sacred
Yeah.
experience. Wow. Thank you.
Manisha, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you. I'm very excited. And it's not only I'm talking about this class, but in general, if there are some new students, so definitely with all these AWC, AWP, whatever is your level, yes, you will learn how to balance your life, because nowadays what we see, everybody is kind of juggling. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so what should I do? And there are so many questions. But once you start learning Ayurveda, then you will really calm down your nervous system, and then you will really figure out how to take responsibility of your own health, and you will enjoy that. So
Mm.
if you are, or if you are thinking of joining this, and especially James has put it all together, it's a wonderful course. It's authentic, because that is also important, authenticity, and all
Absolutely.
teachers are wonderful. So yeah.
Thank you. That's
Pranam.
Thank you, and best
excited to
wishes.
have you. What an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Who do we have next? I think we have our
Vish.
resident Jyotishi.
Yeah, Vish has joined us.
Hold on, I'm trying to get you spotlighted, Vish. Then I can introduce you. Hey, Vish.
Gee.
Namaste. Namaste, James.
Namaste.
Namaste, Laura.
So everyone,
Good
this
to
is
see
Vish
everyone.
Chatterjee. This is Vish Chatterjee. He is now our new instructor on Jyotish or Vedic astrology, and particularly how we can use Jyotish to kind of glean from the planets and the stars on our health. And we obviously can't teach a Jyotish program in 3 days, but we're really 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 glad to have you. And yeah, Vish is amazing. He's just all around pro life coach, executive coach. Jyotish, he's written. Tell us about your latest book that came out.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction, James. I wrote a book called Astrology Decoded: The
Yeah.
Secret Science of India's Sages, and it's a very accessible intro to Jyotish. It's, I had a lot of clients that would finish a reading and ask me to recommend a book, and whatever book I would recommend, within chapter one, they were emailing me with complete confusion. They're like, "This is too complicated. I don't get it." And so I thought, why don't I put a book out there that is really simple, really accessible, to just teach the basic energy of these beautiful planets, the grahas, the navgrahas that we use in Jyotish.
Mm.
Which I love, because this is where I live, right at that nexus of Ayurveda and Jyotish. Tell us, what's the relationship?
Yeah, so think of a stool with three legs, and the support legs of the stool are yoga, Ayurveda, and Jyotish. And they sort of work together to support us on our journey to the divine. They're all divine sciences. And you could say that Ayurveda really focuses on what you're doing with your body. So what is the right food to eat? How do you heal the body? The body's in pain, the body's suffering. How do you bring that back into balance? And it's really about the body's journey through the day, in a way. Like, what is your lifestyle? What is the herbs and foods you eat? And you could say yoga really works at the soul level. And I'm talking about the full yoga, the Ashtanga, like the 8 limbs of yoga, not just the gymnastics on the mat. But if you practice yoga in a serious way, it is a journey to your soul. It's a connection to your deeper soul. And I would say the intersection between the soul and the body is the mind. Our mind is what commands our body to do different things. Our mind is also the tool we use to connect with the divine through yoga practices. And so that intersection point between the soul and the body, that intersection point is what Jyotish tackles. Why do we think the way we do? Why do we choose to do the things we do? And why are we in the circumstances that we find ourselves in? And what's a better way to manage our lives through those circumstances? So I find that yoga, Jyotish, Ayurveda, they actually work together. And as a student of any one of these legs of the stool, you have to have some understanding of the other two legs.
Mhm. Very true. So can you understand, does Jyotish help us understand the Prakriti?
Yes, it does. In fact, that's how I first came to Jyotish is through Ayurveda. I started with, being a student of yoga for the last 25 years. And as you go deeper into yoga, you discover Ayurveda. And I was fascinated with this concept of Prakriti, this concept of Vata, Pitta, Kapha. And I started to apply it to leadership. So I would give my clients, executives in corporate world, a quiz to understand if they're Vata, Pitta, or Kapha in order to guide them on leadership, not for disease healing, just how do you be a more balanced leader? What's the right food, lifestyle, and diet to lead better in your world? And my clients were cheating on the quiz. I give them the Ayurveda, the typical dosha quiz. And in corporate America, you're rewarded if you're a pitta. So people would almost self-select to be a pitta. It's like they were so determined to be the type A personality, they'd almost trick themselves into being pitta. And I was like, I'm seeing in front of me all the signs of vata or all the signs of kapha, but they're saying I'm pitta, right? So I went to my mentor, Dr. Suhas Ji, brilliant teacher of Jyotish and Ayurveda. And I said, Suhas Ji, my clients are cheating on the quiz. What do I do? And he said, oh, Vish, just look at their astrology chart. And, I hadn't discovered this third leg. I was still a yogi delving into Ayurveda. And I was like, I don't believe this astrology stuff. I don't understand. I don't believe that. That's kind of like a hocus pocus newspaper horoscope thing. And he said, no, use the Indian system, the Vedic system that's connected to Ayurveda and yoga. And so a few clients I would ask, when were you born? I just want to try something here. And I would start seeing the truth of who they were, the truth of their Prakriti. And I would ask them questions and they would say, how do you know that about me? And I would say, yeah, I wonder, how did I figure that out? And so after, several times where I would look at the chart and determine someone's Prakriti, I realized that this actually works. There's validation here. And so that sort of opened up the wormhole into Jyotish for me all those years ago.
It's the
Yes.
wormhole into the cosmos.
Yes. And yes, fundamentally, if you analyze somebody's chart, you should be able to see the Prakriti, Vikriti quite easily. And of course, you follow it up with questions to determine if you got it right.
Right. Beautiful. Anything else that applies to Ayurveda in terms of even transits or houses, understanding disease tendencies, disease, recovery, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole branch of Bea, to your question, the name of the book is Astrology Decoded. You can find it on Amazon. Yeah, so basically in Ayurveda, we divide into 3 doshas, right? Pitta, Vata, Kapha. But in Vedic astrology, we have 9 planets. So they're gradations of the doshas in a way. So if you just say, okay, Pitta, that means fiery. But as an astrologer, I would say, well, is it a sun fiery or a Mars fiery or even a Jupiter fiery? Because they all have a fiery version of themselves. And so you get a little bit more fidelity, I think, when you start using the planets as sort of energetic dosha, stand-ins for dosha, you could say. So definitely when you look at a chart, you can get deeper into what are the dominant planets in that person's life. And so what are the dominant doshas or dominant planets that are guiding them or directing their life? But when there's a particular transit, especially if it's over the first house, because the first house is kind of like when you were born, what was on the eastern horizon when you were born. Any planet at the moment transiting that place is going to give you an outsized effect on your body and your health. So definitely from a transit, you can see an outsized influence. Definitely a dasha. There are these planetary periods that people are in. And when you look that up, if somebody's in a Mars dasha, you know there's going to be excess heat. It's going to show up one way or another. And it can show up in the mind, in the body, or just in the circumstance around them. So it adds extra color to you as an Ayurvedic practitioner.
Beautiful. Catherine seems really excited about that. Yeah, it's endlessly fascinating.
Yeah, and so my goal with the 3 days that I'll be teaching the Jyotish portion is to give you some basics of understanding, what is a chart, right? Like what is a birth chart? How does that relate to an individual? Give you the basics of the 9 planets, the 12 signs, and then we're going to get into charts. And I think that's the best way to learn is for, depending on how comfortable people are, is share your birth details, share your chart. We'll pull it up on the screen and we'll look at it together and see, okay, here's the theory. Here's what this chart suggests. And then ask, how is that showing up for you? Is that showing up for you? And then we can all sort of learn from each other live of how, first of all, what the planets predict, what the chart predicts, but also how is that individual managing their life? Right? We all have free agency. It's not like you have a chart and you're kind of stuck with that and that is it. You have a chart, but you can do something about it. And that the doing, the karmic modification comes through the sciences of Ayurveda and yoga. So through Ayurveda, through yoga, you start to shift those energies. Like I said, Mars is fire. Somebody has a lot of Mars, they have a lot of fieriness. But if they're doing pitta reducing activities in their life, you'll notice that Mars may not be as dominant in their life because they've actively managed it. Right?
Yeah. Brilliant. So beautiful. I love that's your goal. You mentioned in your book how you did this, something that you mentioned, you slightly touched on earlier, how your arc of getting into Jyotish. And I love that you wrote this book because you come from sort of a math, science, engineering background. Is that right? And then and didn't think, as you mentioned, that astrology was anything real, but you've come to accept it, and then you've come to realize it's part of your actual lineage.
Yes.
Can you share a bit
Yeah.
about that?
It's funny how the universe keeps hinting and hinting and finally gives you a swift kick, right? And then you're like, wake up and like, oh, okay, that's what I was supposed to do. Got it. All right. Now I look at my chart. I'm like, what was I doing all that time? But I had to do that. I had to go through my own journey. We all have to go through our own journey. And like, Levi, I feel that sometimes I feel disconnected. Like, why can't I control things? Why are things so out of control and chaotic? But you start to find that as you align, when you start to understand your spiritual journey, your soul journey, you start to align, you start to automatically find a lot more ease and balance. And it's almost like you start to understand the way the matrix works. And you get to kind of reach behind the curtain, shift a knob here, shift a knob there, and then come back into it. You're like, oh, wow, something shifted. And so as an engineer, for me, it's been a lot of like, does this really work? Am I really reaching behind? Am I shifting a knob? What happened when I did that? And so that feedback loop of trying something, that little bit of trial and error, try something out, notice, and you start to get these signs. And you start to realize the universe actually gives you feedback pretty quickly. And so that became very interesting for me on my own spiritual journey of, oh, wow, that is work. And then, of course, I discovered I'm, coming from a Chatterjee lineage. My ancestry comes from Bengal. And somewhere in my lineage, we were the advisors. And I was like, well, if you're an advisor 2000 years ago, of course you looked at the planets. That was just part of what was known, right? As a Vaidya, 1,000 years ago, of course it was known that you'd look at herbs and the lifestyle of the person. So these were obvious in those days. Now we've sort of forgotten that. We don't realize that with yoga we can change our karma. With Ayurveda we can heal ourselves to balance. With Jyotish we can find the light of our soul. So these spiritual sciences turn out to be quite divine sciences. And, the fact that you're here on this call is already a huge blessing karmically. The fact that you showed up and you're interested in these subjects, there's something you've done well. There's something you've done well that the karma has conspired for you to then access these teachings and traditions.
Fully.
Yeah.
Somebody's saying phooey. I don't know if you want us all to hear that. But beautiful. That's so beautiful, Vish. And actually, that's one thing that I think I love so much about Jyotish is it does allow us to step back from our lives and not take things so personally, to recognize the soul, as you mentioned. and to recognize that as we may be going through difficult times, whatever karmas we're facing, we're still that light of the Atma.
Yeah, and I think that's our role for the people that we counsel in all these traditions is how do you help somebody return to soul? How do you help somebody return to light? How do you help somebody remember why they're here and help put their suffering in context and give them some tools to do something about it, right? Like, somebody comes to you and says, look, I've got this ache. It's been there for 20 years. I've gone to all these doctors. They don't know what to do. The fact that you just listen to them more deeply than a doctor has in their whole life, that's already a healing. Then you say, you know what, I can relate that particular issue to this thing in your lifestyle, or this thing in your history, or this thing in your upbringing, or this thing in your chart. All of a
Yeah.
sudden they're feeling seen. That's already next level. Like, I've been heard, now I've been seen, and now you start to prescribe something. So you can change this in your lifestyle, do these asanas, try these herbs, start drinking this tea. And now the person's like, okay, I can do something about it. Great, right? And then they start doing something, and then they come back to you a few weeks later and say, you know what, I'm noticing something, right? And then you can say, okay, we're onto something, right? And you start to build that trust. And so it's a very sacred role that all of you on this call are playing in the improving of health of our society. Because right now there's not a lot of tools in the Western world for people to heal from the suffering they're in. Right?
Harvard recently published some research that says that the most important ingredient, the thing that most determines the outcomes of patients, is how the practitioner talks to their patient. I mean, they're including in terms of surgery, medicines, pharmaceuticals, of all the things, it's what the doctor says to the patient that most determines the health outcome. And
I'd go even further. It's how well did the doctor even listen to the patient, right? And part of what's happened in the Western paradigm is the doctor has a God complex. They think they know everything, and they tell, like, well, they don't listen to the patient, and then they prescribe something. The patient doesn't quite feel that they've been seen and heard. So that bedside manners is the listening as well as the knowledge of the doctor. And I feel this happens in astrology as well, where the astrologer tries to act like an expert or know-it-all of everything, and then loses that connection with the client. So I think Ayurveda still preserves that in the training and the teaching, especially in this group and what James is trying to create. There's this idea that you have to really be with the patient or the client. And when you're with them and you establish that rapport and that trust and you really listen, that's a whole different level. And when you put your own ego aside and say, look, this is what I'm seeing, but I could be wrong. How is it showing up for you? Laura, is the beautiful question we talked about. Like, how is it showing up for you? I see this planet in your first house. It must mean this, but how has it shown up for you? And just get quiet and listen. And the amount of information that comes from the patient or the client is gold. And when you can then correlate that to the frameworks that you have from Ayurveda, from yoga, from Jyotish, then you can really activate a shift in their healing.
It's so exciting. It's dynamic. I'm wondering if there's some Shravana Nakshatra in your chart, but I think we have to go. We've got 2 more people, and we have to finish by 6.
Thank you.
We can follow up offline.
Thank you so much, Vic.
Pleasure to meet everyone. All the best. Luck on your journey, and thank you for this.
Thank you. We're going to follow up with some more. We're going to follow up.
Namaste.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. To honor the time commitment that we have committed people to, we're going to bring in our next guest, KP Khalsa. KP, hold on. I'm going to try to add you to the spotlight. There he is.
Hi, everybody. Hi, James. Hi, Laura.
Hi, KP. Welcome. All right, everyone. KP is I really want to say, and I don't think it would be an exaggeration to say that he is probably the most preeminent Ayurvedic herbalist, if not in the United States, one in the world. KP has written several books and lots of articles, and has been on the faculty of many schools. He has committed his entire life to the subject, and I am honored to have you, KP, with us. I consider you a mentor of mine. I consider you a friend. I consider you all things. Many conversations I've had with you over the years have helped to set me straight in my life. and also in the running of Savanti Institute. So thank you for all that you've given us, and thank you for what you've given to in terms of helping to bring this information about herbs to everyone.
Well, right back at you, James. I would say the same thing about you, and it's really my honor to be here working with such an astute group of people and putting together this whole program. So I've uh, taught in this program for a while, and I've been very impressed with the quality of the students and what we've been able to accomplish in the short time that we have together. So here we go again.
So
Here we
true.
go. Yeah.
I'm so curious, KP, how you got into all this. How did you get started with herbs?
Well, there were two things really. When I was 10 years old, I was diagnosed as having a, fatal degenerative disease. And no, it was a very kind of obscure, unusual spinal degeneration kind of process. And my parents hauled me around to one after another orthopedic doctors, and they all said there's nothing we can do about it. Finally, they got a name for it, but that didn't matter. So they just said, don't get addicted to morphine too early because you're going to need a lot later. People didn't make it past 40. And when you're 10 years old, that doesn't really impact you the way it is an adult. But as I began to get a little bit older, I began to realize, and also my condition was getting worse and worse. So when I was in high school, just I was in pain 24 hours a day. So just sitting in class was uh, was very painful, and nothing to do about it. So that was the hippie times, and there were a lot of new ideas floating around, and I was interested in all these new kinds of things, and we were doing really radical things like eating tofu, things like that. And there wasn't much that we could learn about any of these things then, but we were really anxious to do it, really motivated to do it. So I wasn't really thinking so much about my own condition, strangely enough, but then later I realized it's the classic wounded healer kind of situation where I was the motivation to heal myself was underlying all this other stuff that was so fascinating. So I began doing a few things here and there. And one of the things I did was to take a yoga class as a teenager, and for about 15 minutes, we did a particular exercise, and I was out of pain for about 15 minutes. Whoa, that was really a startling kind of new thing. So I said, well, if there's one thing that can do that, there might be other things. So I began to get into the world of yoga and then was led to Ayurveda from that. So it was
Mm.
partly just the fascination of finding it so amazingly interesting that I just kept digging deeper and deeper. And at that time, I was able to scare up one Ayurveda book, uh, almost impossible to read. It was English, sort of, and you know what I mean. So,
Oh,
and then, I ran into a bunch of various Ayurvedic experts of one kind or another and began to ask questions and just put it all together. Now, of course, we have schools like Savanti that, everybody just gets it on a silver platter, but I had to grind away for every little detail. But it started to make sense, put it all together. And in the meantime, I was working on myself. So that whole situation with my disease. It's no longer visible in my body. My x-rays look great. They look like Swiss cheese when I was, 14 years old, but
wow.
now that's all filled in and healed. And I'm obviously way past 40. So made it through all that. And I just found that I now realize at my age that it was so much of a gift to learn these things so early because I learned about Ayurvedic lifestyle and diet and herbs and et cetera when I was a teenager, and I began to apply those things. So I've been able to stay healthy now the rest of my life from that. As I talk to my peers, everybody is on their second major operation. They're taking 6 or 7 prescriptions, and wow, it's just astounding. And I do this for a living, so I just talk to people one after another all day long, just stuck in that endless loop of pain that they can never figure out, drugs that don't work, side effects that are a problem. And I just found herbal medicine to be, for whatever reason, the thing that I just resonated with, and it began to really work. I began to see it work, and I went deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole until I got competent enough to be able to really do it and become an expert. And now it's just I love what I do. I do it all day long, every day. I've been doing it for 53 years, and I'm still
Mm.
anxious to get up in the morning and do it again. Did it all day today until it's time to talk to you folks.
Wow.
That's an incredible story. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Mm. So tell us a little bit more about the class that you have coming up with us. What is the difference between the sort of beginner level and the advanced level, and what's on the
Yeah,
agenda?
right. So we do in the initial program, we do a 3-day program where we introduce people to Ayurvedic herbs. We cover the 25 herbs that the professional associations want us to know about, and then we go beyond that. So we cover about in that beginning program about 50 herbs, and then we add another, maybe 60 herbs or so this next weekend. So we
Mm.
talk about herbal properties and practices and Ayurvedic understanding of things. And we go through one system of the body after another, learning how that system works, how we can use Ayurvedic herbalism to assist that. And then we learn all the other, the jargon and the details about how to understand what an herb is going to do when you give it to somebody, talk about the doses, correct a bunch of myths and misunderstandings that people have today and really give people the, you walk out on Sunday and you can use it on Monday kind of idea.
Nice. What are typical myths that you debunk?
Well, one of the things that's been happening is that for some reason, starting many decades ago, the American Ayurvedic communities began to get afraid of using herbal medicine. I don't know exactly what happened. I have some ideas, but the kind of level that people were talking about training people for was very, very basic.
Mm.
And people, it just didn't give people the tools for people to get well. And so that has continued till today. So when we look at doses in, the Ayurvedic Pharmacopoeia of India, or we look at doses used by experts in India, we find that the doses are a much higher than the typical dose that you see online or whatever. Most of the people talking about Ayurvedic herbs don't have any real training in it, and
Mm.
they're just repeating what somebody else said, who's repeating what somebody else said. So we have, 1,000 echoes in the blogosphere, and people are. I was just talking to a client yesterday who had a cold, and she contacted me, and I recommended something that comes in small pills, but the dose was 100 pills a day, and which normally will help you get rid of that cold that day. If you get up, you have achy back, spinny head, you start taking those things, and by mid-afternoon, you're taking your 100 pills. By evening, you're feeling good again. You wake up the next morning, it's gone. But so she told me, oh, I had that cold for, a week and a half. And I said, well, what happened to what I suggested? She said, well, I used it. I said, how much did you take? I said, well, I took 10. I said, but I said to take 100. And she just said, it freaked me out. I just couldn't do it. I looked at those things and said, if this was Valium, I'd be dead. And she just couldn't make herself do it. So she suffered for 10 days for nothing. And it's that. So dose is a really big factor. And then an overemphasis on understanding herbal energetics in a very rigid way. So if the herb is listed as having an Ushnavirya, a hot temperature energy, that you can't take it ever if anybody has any signs of heat
Mm.
anywhere in their body. Instead of
Yeah.
understanding, the overall situation, people are focused on these rigid rules. And I guess really, if I had to say that how these myths really are developed is because of people trying to understand this in a black and white rigid way.
Mm.
Some guy wrote something in a dusty book 2,300 years ago. Things have happened a lot since then. All the acharyas left the last page of their samhita blank and said, we're leaving this blank so that the next generation can write down their contributions. And yet somehow it's not real if there's not a sutra in the classics that you can count on. I don't mean that it's just wrong. It just doesn't exist. It's not in the world unless Chadak said it. But of course, we have modern science and we have a lot of ways to understand things. Chadak didn't know the things about anatomy that we know today. So that rigid perspective that there's one way to do it, it's black and white. The Ayurvedic police are going to turn on a siren and come around and give you a ticket if you, put a banana in your lassi. And
Oh,
that kind of
right.
that kind of rigid perspective. I think of Ayurveda, my definition is a relationship with the universe, how you interact with every other thing in the cosmos. And we're all on our way back to Purusha, but we all have different paths, to get there. And everybody's orientation is a little different. So rather than becoming stuck in only one way to do things, you can't give a gram of ashwagandha, if the person has some heaviness, I'm going to say, well, what they had for lunch, a Big Mac, large fries, and a milkshake is a lot heavier than that 1 gram of ashwagandha. I just see the whole thing kind of going in this very restricted direction where the rabbit hole is getting more and more narrow. And I have students correcting me about things like, how dare you do that? Well, what we're after is results in the end. We don't want to create problems, but you're not going to get a gold ribbon for most closely following what Samacharya said. What we're looking for is for someone to get well. So we understand that relationship with our bodies, with our spirit, with the universe, and try to flow with the vibration that the universe is giving us. It works a lot better. Anyway, those are some ideas.
Beautiful. Thank you. That was so beautiful and so affirming to hear. Living relationship. Yeah, thank you. You have anything else, James?
Oh, I think we hit it. KP, we're looking forward to your first program coming up in a few months, and KP's course is really like a magical visual tour of the plant world, because more than anybody I know who teaches in this on this program, it's filled with imagery of the plants and of the products or the processes of manufacturing the products. And it's like a slideshow of all slideshows. And he's got an incredible, you know, body of information, not only as a teacher, but also just in terms of audiovisual. So you'll learn a lot just, visually as well. So come with an open heart and open eyes, and he will walk you through the world very, very, very wisely. We appreciate that, KP. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. I always love working with your students and working with you, James. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Great.
Beautiful.
Well,
Very
we're gonna
inspiring.
it'll happen. All right. Thanks again.
Great. Thank you. That was inspiring.
My
Gosh.
pleasure.
Yeah.
All right. And we have one more to go. And last but never least, one of my dear friends and hold on, Arun, let me put you on to the, oh, you moved.
I think you mentioned that you and Arun studied with Dr. Suhas together.
Yes. So Arun, let me spotlight him. There he is. There he is. Hi, Arun. Welcome. Oh, you're muted.
You're muted still.
Hello, James. Hello, Laura.
Good to
So
see
Arun
you.
Deva is I can't speak highly enough as not only a great teacher and a practitioner, but he's an amazing Ayurvedic practitioner and teacher, but also a yoga teacher, yoga therapist. He has been a pioneer in developing what we call the Ayurvedic yoga therapy kind of world and certification programs at NAMA. And on top of all that, a dear friend of mine for many years, maybe 25 years, maybe more, maybe 30, something like that.
Yeah, I think maybe 98.
Yeah, yeah. So in the upper 20s, since the 1900s, we can say now. It's a long time.
Yes,
Yeah.
So
sure.
tell us the latest with you. So Varun is teaching a course called Foundations of Ayurveda, and this particular course is a very, very deep dive into the philosophies and the history and the kind of overarching kind of view of what Ayurveda is and its place in the Vedas, among other kind of classic texts. So, can you explain what that is to everybody? It's a bit, but you probably can put it into easier terms than I can.
Well, I think you just explained what I'm teaching, but look, every foundation every structure has to have a foundation.
Yeah.
And the one thing we know about Ayurveda is that it is not a science you learn, it is a science you remember. It's the very first sutra, the very first text on it that we have, which is the Charaka Samhita, basically tells us that, we drag this information out of cosmic consciousness, which in Ayurvedic terms we call it Brahma. but it literally refers to cosmic consciousness. So we're dragging this out of cosmic consciousness. Well, it's not the only thing we're dragging out of cosmic consciousness. We're driving out of it, all kinds of other philosophies. And these philosophies, if we think of Ayurveda, it's not so much a philosophy as it is a science. So it's a science that has a philosophy. And I think in our modern medicine, we're looking at a science that does not have a philosophy. Or if it does have a philosophy, it's a philosophy of how do I make money? I mean, that's a truism, But in Ayurveda, the philosophy has a lot of depth to it. It's not called the science of medicine. It's called the science of life. It's medicine. Disease is a crime that happens to life. And so what is informing this science that's going to help us to live healthier, happier, longer lives? Because literally that's what the word Ayurveda translates into: health, longevity, and happiness. So what is there that is holding that up, presenting it as a structure and saying, here you go, this is Ayurveda? And what is that built on? So for one thing, it's built on a particular language, Sanskrit, which is not to say that it cannot be explained or understood through other languages. It's just that we have to find a way to draw from that Sanskrit the true meanings. So it's very important to understand that Sanskrit is one of those languages, one of those very rare languages that is completely mathematical. And it's based on the science of how you place your tongue in your mouth in different places to create different sounds. And so those sounds actually carry consciousness with them. So if, for instance, the word vata, if you manage to say it in the proper way that Sanskrit would ask you to say it, it would actually resonate within you. Same with pitta. If you say it exactly how it's said, and we actually do come very close to doing that, in English, because they're not difficult words to translate. But what is the background to all of this? So the first background, of course, is Sanskrit. And so we go into a little bit of that, how sound, which of course, any of you who've practiced yoga know that, sound turns into mantra. And mantras are incredibly powerful. So if we have some of these words in Sanskrit that enter into our vocabulary, not in translations, but in their original, like Vata Pitta Kapha, like Sattva Rajas Tamas, like the word Ayurveda, like the word Panchakarma. If these words we do not translate them, we're forced to try and focus on what could they possibly mean. So what are the foundations? So I'm going to try and make this quick so we don't run out of time. But that's one foundation. But the other foundations are like, what are the philosophies that inform Ayurveda? For instance, we all know, or most people know, that one of the philosophies that informs Ayurveda is called Sankhya. So what exactly does Sankhya mean? Sankhya means to enumerate. So in other words, we can enumerate how life came to be. And based on that, we can learn what disease is, the enemy of life, what that is. Because it's not promoting life, it's destroying life. So Ayurveda is a medical science that is non-clinical, subclinical, and clinical. It'll meet you where your needs are. Non-clinical means it's going to meet you in a place where you can prevent disease. Subclinical means that the disease process has begun, but it hasn't manifested. Can we prevent it from manifesting? And clinical is it has manifested. Now what do we do? So Ayurveda will meet all three of those answers. So it's a vast science. I think what's important is that when we enter Ayurveda, if we're immediately looking for cures for disease, then I think we're going to have issues. We have to take baby steps first. We first have to learn things like Claire's teaching, how to eat, what to eat, when to eat, and that's not written in stone. What was written down in the Ayurvedic text applied to a particular geography, a particular culture, a particular lifestyle, a particular time frame. How do we adjust it, to our culture, our time, and what is available to us as food? We have to acknowledge that if we say ashwagandha is a very powerful herb, we're talking about ashwagandha being a very powerful herb grown in very powerful soil. And here you take ashwagandha and you grow it in, very depleted soil. How much power can it have? And then, as KP Khalsa said, you may need a bigger dosage for it just to work on you. But ashwagandha also is a very heavy herb. So taking a heavier dosage may make it difficult for you to digest it. So then I got to figure out something that's called an anupan. How am I going to be able to get it into you in such a way that you can digest it? So there are all these fascinating aspects that are preclinical. And then if we talk about non-clinical, it's simple things like, drinking warm water first thing in the morning. So all of this, where does it come from? Where are the roots for all of this? And the roots can be found there are actually 7 philosophies where we can find these roots. So we're going to talk a little bit about those 7 philosophies. We're going to talk in great detail about one of them in particular, which is Sankhya, because that really explains to us the doshas. And if you look at the medical sciences of the world prior to our industrial medicine, all of them, have something very beautiful to offer us. Chinese medicine, Native American medicine, Western herbalism, all of them have something very beautiful to offer us. What Ayurveda offers us is unique, and that is the concept of the doshas. That is not in any other medical science. So what are the roots of the doshas? Because only once we understand the roots of the doshas can we understand what a dosha actually is.
Beautiful. And it's almost like medicine. I feel understanding Samkhya is a kind of medicine in itself, a way of seeing the whole world and everything that happens to you. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, Laura. I mean, anything that builds awareness is medicine.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Well said.
Right? Awareness is within us. We just have blockages in accessing it. It's not that we have to learn how to become aware. And awareness is the highest of all medicines. Awareness is love. There is no difference between love and awareness. Love is not an emotion. It's a sense of awareness. And that awareness gives us this experience of unity. We're not separate.
Yeah. One thing that I've loved, and I love what I'm hearing in you, Arun, and I know that you're a yoga teacher and yoga therapist. I'm hearing in everybody tonight, and especially now, the yoga in Ayurveda, right? That integrated perspective, that touch back into source or Purusha, as KP mentioned.
There would be no Ayurveda without yoga. If you look back at the mythology of Ayurveda, it begins with 5 sages, some texts say 16 sages, going up to a mountaintop to access cosmic consciousness. Well, what is a sage if not a yogi? So it's the yogis who actually bring Ayurveda to us. But in bring it to us, what they bring to us, because they're in a place where they have no disease processes. And it's out of great compassion for us who have disease processes that they say, okay, you cannot practice yoga because you have obstacles in your path. You need to remove those obstacles. Well, here's the science of life. It will help you to remove those obstacles. So Ayurveda is both arising from yoga and the preparation for the practice of yoga.
Perfect.
Truly, truly divine transmission. Thank you so much, Arun. I can't wait to take your course. Can I jump in on that one, James?
Of course. All the teachers are allowed to sit in on the other teachers' programs anytime.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you, Arun.
I would love to sit in on your class, Laura.
Well, my class is just fun in the kitchen.
Well, come on, what could be better than that? And I would love to sit in well, everybody's classes, definitely, but very much so Claire and Vish. Yeah, they're fascinating, fascinating.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you, Arun.
Thank you.
And thank you to all of our instructors, our masterclass teachers. We are very, very, very honored to have you. It's not a common thing to have this many people of such depth and caliber in what they teach all in one place. So yeah, how should we close this out, Laura?
Well, can we close it by saying thank you to everyone? Thank you, everybody, for sitting with us for these 2 hours. Thank you for, as was it Vish who said, just being here is a sign of it's a blessing. And to have this sort of divine transmission and to have these people with their brilliance to be expounding on the brilliance of Ayurveda is such a gift. I never tire of sitting with a great teacher of Ayurveda, because even if it's, you know the concepts, you're just hearing it. It just feels fresh. It feels like a bath. It feels like a healing. So I just want to really say thank you, James, for organizing. Thanks to everybody who showed up to listen. And thanks so much to the teachers. It's an honor to be with you all. Thank you.
Mhm. Everything she said.
Yes.
I'm happy to sit for a few minutes and answer any questions if anybody has. If our faculty want to hang out and answer questions, or if you need to go, that's fine too. Laura, you're free to do as you need. I know you've got a lot going on, but if anyone has any questions about the program or about the institute, registration and all that, I'll be here, and you're welcome to, yeah, turn on your mics and ask away, or you can just send an email. You can go to savantiinstitute.com. You can go to the Ayurveda Masterclass program page and get details. The registration links are there. There's a contact form there. You can send me questions if you want to do it that way, or you can email me at jamesb@savantiinstitute.com, or I'm here. You can while you have me now, you're welcome to ask questions now.
Yeah. There was a question. Diana had a question. I didn't know we'd have time for questions. She said, the modern world has the ability to analyze the chemistry of organics. Is testing of plants used in Ayurveda reviewed? We might have needed KP to be here for that.
That might have been a good KP question. I'm not sure I can answer that question myself. There has been a lot of testing of plants, both all of them, Ayurvedic, Chinese herbology, Native American herbology, European, African. All of these systems there have been significant Western approach kind of studies to their phyto kind of chemical constituents, what works clinically and in what kind of conditions. So I think the answer is obviously yes. And there are textbooks out there you can find on the chemistry of the plants for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this has been something when I first went to India in 2008, there was this conference called the Consciousness of Ayurveda, or Ayurveda and Consciousness. And they brought in a lot of scientists from across India. So they were organic chemists and they were biologists and they were every kind of scientist. And the discussion was, how do we test and measure the efficacy of Ayurveda in a way that Western medicine and science will appreciate so that we can advance more integration? Because Ayurveda is not it's not chemistry, it's energy. It's based on, it's more physics, really. There's that issue. And that, I think they're working on resolving that issue. There's a lot of great studies now that show
Mhm.
sustained efficacy of things like Ayurveda, ashwagandha, or different blends and compounds.
Mhm.
And so I don't know how much each teacher addresses that, but I think that's something that we could always point the students towards in terms of the research.
Well, I like to think that the languaging of Ayurveda really is inspired by the chemistry of substances like foods and herbs, that energetics really reflect the chemical constituents of each substance, whether it's a food or an herb. And we just have a different language of interpretation. But the language of Ayurveda is really designed to help us to interpret the language of the body, right? Because it is a healing practice. So understanding what the body is saying, the communication, the language of the body, then can be translated to the energetics of substances like foods and herbs and even lifestyle changes, yoga techniques, and so on. All of that is really a continuum of the energetics that are needed to balance the individual. So the chemistry, I think, will only validate it. It can only confirm what we already know. If a plant is known to reduce pain, then the chemistry will reflect that healing property, right? And there are some exceptions. There are always some plants that chemically or pharmaceutically or phytopharmaceutically don't kind of make sense in what it does, but for the most part, most will. I think the language is pretty consistent.
Makes sense. But then again, as Manas and Suhas talked about, this multi-pronged approach, right?
Mm,
There's so many things, like you just said. You're offering herbs, but you're also offering yoga and maybe meditation and maybe panchakarma. And so
mm.
really, how do we wrap that all up in a measurable way? It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, that's the great work of being an Ayurvedic practitioner or a counselor is really seeing people in a holistic way and seeing what needs to shift, whether it's lifestyle, plant medicines, nutrition, sleep. We didn't have with us tonight Dr. Suhas Shirsagar. We did a pre-recording with him, and he's coming out with an amazing book that we're Laura and I are both excited about called Awakened Sleep. And he's looking at Ayurvedically the power of sleep and what happens when we're sleeping and sort of I'm excited to see the book. It's not out yet. It's coming out, I think, in October, he said.
October.
Yeah, and it's just I think there's so much that Ayurveda speaks to. That in Ayurveda we talk about the three pillars of health, and the first one is food, but the second one is sleep, and the third one is brahmacharya, which is really kind of moderation and keeping things in balance. And so to think that one of the three pillars is sleep, it just goes to show you just how essential Ayurveda sees sleep to be.
Hmm.
So if you're not quite sleeping, a full 8 hours a night, there's something to work on for you. There's a little project for you that you can work on to really help kind of stabilize all kinds of things that might be going on in your body that could be indirectly related to your sleep or your sleep hygiene. So look for that book. It's going to be a game changer for sure coming out this fall.
Yeah.
Do our guests have any questions? Anybody want to turn on their mic and
Hi, James. It's Roxanne.
hey, Rexanne.
Hey, thanks for the presentation. It was lovely to kind of have a congruency and to kind of tie it all together. Um, as me kind of new to your organization, I missed it in the beginning, but um, the master's program, I believe, can you define what you're actually talking about for this? Is this for beginners, or is this for advanced practitioners or medium practitioners to jump in? And
Mhm.
if for advanced practitioners, I'd love to hear a little bit more in depth about pathology, interactions with prescription medicines. And that might be a bigger question that you and I can address on email, but the first
Yeah.
one there for sure.
Sure. So we actually have a three-tiered program. We have, I haven't mentioned, we have a foundations program also, which is a much shorter program for people who just want to stick a little toe in and kind of learn the basics. Um, you don't need to take the foundation program in order to take the master class program. The master class is designed to be for beginners also. It just goes longer and more deeper. So it starts really from the basics and kind of builds upon that. So we are talking about here specifically the faculty in the masterclass program. Yeah, so I think I got to most of your questions. So the uh, and then also the masterclass program is a standalone program. So if you don't want to become an Ayurvedic counselor, then just don't take the clinical supervision program. You can take just the masterclass.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll talk about the other part of your question another time.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And the clinical supervision portion, from what I understand, is pretty unique. I know that people have come to do some trainings with me have said they really didn't feel that they learned after their 2 years or 3 years of Ayurvedic training. They really didn't feel they learned how to work with clients,
Hmm.
right? So that clinical
Yeah.
supervision that you do is deep and it's brilliant. It's important.
Yeah, if you have any interest in going to that next step and really working with clients, or if you already have a healing kind of practice of some type and you want to integrate Ayurveda into that practice, we have a clinical supervision program that helps people to kind of take that knowledge that they have, kind of review it a bunch, and then learn how to apply it and see it in people. Because learning things and listening to teachers is the first step. The second step is then learning to communicate what you know to others and how to draw out the information that you need, how to conduct an intake, how to conduct a follow-up, how to create a report, how to synchronize, I guess what I call the intake information from the diagnostic assessment, from the treatment plan, and then from the recommendations that you give people, and making sure that they're all kind of consistent and saying the same thing. So it's more of a clinical program. And it's not for everybody, but usually about half of the people in our masterclass program go on to the clinicals, and the other half are they're really just enjoying the masterclass for their personal life and for their family. And we completely we highly encourage that. I think that's what Ayurveda is for.
Mhm. Wonderful.
Anybody else?
Hmm.
Well, in that case, I'm really, really grateful that you all appeared and showed up. I think we've got an incredible beginning, and beginnings are how outcomes and futures and goals are met. And I'm really, really pleased with this. And I appreciate all of your patience and your time. And if you have any questions about any of this, please feel free to email me, text me if you can find my number. It's on the website. If you need anything, just reach out and I'll be there for you. And Laura, thank you for being here and giving so much of your time and presence.
And the website, Savanti.com, Savanti Institute.
SavantiInstitute.com. Let me put it on the chat box here.
Great. Very nice. Yeah, wonderful to be with everyone. Thank you. Thanks, B for your note. Thank you, everybody. Maricel is where I grew up. Nice to see you. It's really, really great to be here. I hope we see you all in the Savanti course.
Yep. We look forward to seeing you all. All right.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone.
James.
Have a great evening. Okay, welcome everybody. We have with us today a very, very esteemed and respected and beloved teacher of mine and of many. We have Dr. Suhas Shirsagar, who I met down way back in the early 2000s. I was going to say the 1900s, but it was close to the 1900s. Back when I was doing my training in Los Angeles, Dr. Suhas was one of the I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 faculty members and what was called at that time the Ayurveda Institute of America. And I think if I have it correct, that was eventually what became Kerala Ayurveda, or at least it was bought by Kerala Ayurveda, integrated into Kerala Ayurveda. So yeah, we're really, really happy to have him here today and spend a few minutes asking him about his life and what he's bringing to our courses here. But more just to really get to know him a little better and kind of spotlight one of our master class teachers. And really, and I want to say this with all respect to all the teachers. Um, they're all master class teachers and instructors, but we do lean on Dr. Suhas quite a bit for his more advanced medical training in Ayurveda. So, Dr. Suhas, we are grateful for that. You bring a kind of a level of training and insight that really is sort of like um, a mentor to us all, so to speak, at Savanti Institute. So we really do lean on you, and that's more or less why you do teach a couple of the more difficult classes to teach. The Ayurvedic pathophysiology, which is more about the imbalances and the pathologies of the body, and also pulse diagnosis, which is really one of the more challenging aspects to learn in Ayurveda. So yeah, we're grateful to have you. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you, James. Thank you, Laura. So happy to be a part of Savanthi Institute because I personally believe in authentic Ayurvedic education, and we are so happy that what you are doing, James, with a wonderful team of yours, that we are bringing some of the most profound and authentic Ayurvedic training that is available outside India through Savanthi Institute. All the teachers, all the faculty members, and my interaction with all the students for so many years have been nothing but remarkable and wonderful. The reason being, I believe that the students are ready and very hungry to receive the information which sounds right and which is applicable. And the teachers, on the other hand, especially the the teachers who are in clinical practice, they bring wealth of experience and information that is intertwined with theoretical information that is shared with the students in the form of stories, in the client testimonials or wonderful stories of their remarkable recoveries. So when it is blended together, that is what real Ayurveda is. Ayurveda is, in fact, a consciousness-based approach to health and well-being. And education transforms people. So most of the students who come to us want to learn about themselves. Ayurveda introduces them to themselves. That's the starting point. And slowly it empowers them and makes them capable to go out and help others. And that's what we have seen with you or Laura and so many other students, Arun, so many people who learn for themselves and then they feel empowered to go out and teach and train so many other people because it has the capacity to transform your life. And I think especially in the modern lifestyle, stumbling upon Ayurveda, understanding your health, because what COVID has taught us so far is that your health is the most important business that you have to do. The 24/7 work, you have to be responsible for your own health and well-being. And I think it is so valuable that the information that you share, and especially the classes that you have offered me. I'm very happy to teach Rog Nidan, Vikruti Vidyan, and Kai Chikitsa. So it's about Ayurvedic pathophysiology, understanding the root cause of disease, how to negate it, how to avoid the causative factors of a given disease, how to understand the energetic correlation of the doshas, dhatus, and malas, and what are the things that you can do to prevent the onslaught of the disease, and how to effectively therapeutically treat a disease or a condition. Pulse diagnosis, which is also a two-way process, is something that how you prepare yourself as to have a heightened sense of awareness where you can tap into the state of health and vibrancy of a client and use that tool for the diagnostic purposes, for the healing purposes, and kind of render your own healing touch to the clients and the patients. and
Mhm.
chikitsa. It's, I think, my favorite topic is about the treatment modalities, where you have to really understand the broad spectrum and the multimodality qualities of Ayurvedic treatments.
Yeah.
You're
Mhm.
talking about Ayurvedic herbs, diet, routine, lifestyle, detoxification, stress management, emotional health, all of those things that you fuse them together. And this is becoming the new age medicine, I would say. And sorry
Mhm.
to drag this so far and so long, but I teach Ayurveda at, at this level to several physicians, MDs, and health professionals. And I teach them and tell them that everything that you have been practicing right now in the form of integrative functional medicine, Ayurveda is the original lifestyle medicine. It's the original biohack that is known to humanity.
Mm.
Because the true lifestyle medicine, how you style your life is what Ayurveda is the science of life. And more importantly, when you give someone diet or vata, pitta, kapha pacifying diet, food is information, and it is nutrigenomics. It is nutrition which talks to your genes and regulates, upregulate, or downregulate certain genetic pathways. So it is truly an epigenetic science. It's truly a lifestyle medicine, personalized medicine. Before we even heard these terms from functional medicine perspective, Ayurveda has been talking about all of these things for thousands and thousands.
Mm-hmm. I love it. May I riff here, James? We have some special, standard, let's say, questions. But can I just ask a question that's a little off the standard? Because
Absolutely.
I love
Yeah.
Dr. Suhas. Just going back to the beginning, how does Ayurveda describe health?
I think its health is where all the layers of life are fully seamlessly integrated,
Mhm.
because it's not about a symptom or a disease, where the fulfillment in all areas of life. It's just philosophically based medicine, is that right? It's a spiritual base. The basis of Ayurveda, the mission statement of Ayurveda is Ayurveda Amritana, Ayurveda for immortality. So, how you live your life, your relationship, your diet, your profession, that brings you joy and happiness. What you do, your dharma, what you do for daily living, how you
Mm.
help people, how you help yourself, how you raise your children, how you cultivate better relationship professionally as well as romantically. More importantly, what you do for yourself. The most important relationship is for yourself with your own body. So your exercise, your meditation, your eating clean, you're going to bed at a proper time. Everything that you do all at once is what Ayurveda is.
Mm.
It's easy to say that absence of disease is health, but that is
Mhm.
not completely true. It's
Mm.
very little part. Health is the totality of all the moving parts in life, where how do you find that state of non-change amidst all the change and still pursue toward the path of evolution and enlightenment? That's what Ayurvedic living is. I call this as enlightened living. That's what Ayurveda is.
Mm-hmm. So true. Another
Mm.
thing, I love how you began speaking, because I think you spoke to what James mentioned, in that you really bring so much medical knowledge to the practice of Ayurveda, so that I think Westerners can really see its value within this Western world. That's something that's so inspiring about you as well. What?
And I think this has been a mission statement of mission of my work. I've been practicing Ayurveda, especially in the West, for the last 35 years. And
Mhm.
I see patients, I have clinical experience, but I try to simplify complicated Ayurvedic terms and terminologies and foreign words in Sanskrit and original Sanskrit language, and simplify them and marry them with the latest cutting edge science. So if you read my book, The Hot Belly Diet, which was all about Agni, Ama, cleansing, fasting, nutrition. Then I wrote the book on Change Your Schedule, Change Your Life, which was all about chronobiology, clock genes, ideals of daily routine, seasonal routine, different stages and phases of life, how you live in accordance with the laws of nature. And
Mm.
the book on the art and science of Vedic counseling, which was all about integrating the aspect of yoga, Jyotish, Vastu, Vedanta, all of this together, because the philosophical understanding of Ayurveda is what it is. So, as you said, blending that science, and I think my new book, which I don't want to do a pitch here, but it's coming out called as Awakened Sleep.
Oh, nice.
It's
With Dr.
about
Shiva.
sleep, but it's an awakened sleep where you are able to use sleep as an extension to your meditation practice.
Yes.
Not 8 hours you waste your time, but now we are realizing how important sleep is. Sleep is one of the most potent anti-inflammatory activity that one will do. From a medical perspective, we understand that how we sleep. We really don't know why we sleep.
Yeah.
We just know the stages of sleep. But I think the Ayurvedic understanding of Nidra, sleep, the description, and correlating that with the latest medical science on weight loss, on chronic diseases, and cognitive functions, and lucid dreaming, that's what this book is all about. So I have always tried to blend the latest science with the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda. And this has become a mission statement of my life.
I love it. Ahara Nidra Brahmacharya.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the three pillars.
It's
Yep.
a tripod of life. And brahmacharya doesn't only mean celibacy, it simply means
Right.
that a lifestyle that is in accordance with Brahma. Okay? Brahma acharati yasa brahmacharya.
Mhm.
So someone who understands the consciousness principle and leads a conscious lifestyle, that's who brahmachari is.
So beautiful.
When will the book be released, Suhas?
Releasing on October 28th.
Oh,
It's ready for pre-order on every place, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, IndieBound, everywhere. Goodreads.
excited. I'm so excited.
It's a great title. Awakened Sleep.
It is. It is. And I love this because I think there's a beautiful Vedic hymn that talks about sleep as the goddess of Yoga Maya, who casts her spell on every living entity where they all sleep, recharge their batteries, and they wake up. It's almost as if that we are doing a dress rehearsal of dying every night, but we still show up the next day. So from that state of tamas where the emergence of sattva happens. So being consciously sleeping is a huge factor that can determine the longevity, the cognitive function, and everything you attract or fail to attract in life.
But it seems like it goes back to that idea of the Amrita. If every night you're, what did you call it, doing a dress rehearsal for your own passing. And if we look at the yoga idea, that then we may move into our immortal stage. Yes.
And that's the closest that you can be to your immortal self. Because we have volumes written about withdraw your senses. And it's so difficult to withdraw your senses. It's only possible in sleep when you fully withdraw your senses. And you are at the mercy of your mind and to a certain extent, the inaction of the senses. But once you learn to transcend that, that's the closest that you can get to self-realization.
It's an important topic because whether we know why we sleep or not, we know that when we don't sleep, it's extremely uncomfortable. And
the health benefits, yes, we can challenge about the health benefits, no doubt about it. And we have enough research to document that. But since time immemorial, all the sages have used sleep and the quality of relaxation in terms of dispelling the illusion of life. Because we all know that everything that meets our eyes is 100% not real. And when you are able to transcend different states of consciousness in your sleep, the Jagrut, which is the state of awake, then dreaming, and then a deep sleep or a sleep, sushupti. And then you slip into the fourth state of consciousness, which is called as transcendental state. And that opens the floodgates of higher states of realization. So that is the closest gateway that we can access. And the key thing that I mentioned in my book is what you do 1 hour before you sleep. What you have 1 hour before you sleep is going to train the experience for your sleep every night.
Nice. Great. So we all have to get the book so that we can learn.
Absolutely. And as I will be teaching the upcoming courses, I will be infusing all of this in my teachings, because I think our students need to understand that what they are coming to study at Sevanti is not an ancient, outdated system that was practicing 5,000, 10,000 years ago. But this is cutting edge medicine. Where all the limitations of current Western medicines are fully exposed, and we are trying to understand that what can you do for yourself? How can you take better control of your own physical health? How can you change the limitations of your belief system, your mind, regulate your sensory experience, convert that into what goes into your body, and using spirituality as the basis of the art of metabolizing experiences. You're digesting it, you're metabolizing it, and you're creating a new body, a new awareness, a new understanding. And we have seen this over and over again. And James, you would agree, and Laura, you have seen this, that when people start the course, the first class to the last class, and you see them, they have completely shifted. By the end of the class, they have completely brainwashed and transformed in a complete different awakening about themselves and their life.
Yes.
Yeah, they wash their brain. This is true. I teach 2 of the weekends, and they're 6 months apart, and people are softer and more joyful and more present by the second one. It's true. This is true.
Suhas, we may have to create a sleep course for you. Now
Yes.
I'm inspired.
Create that, no doubt
I
about
mean,
it.
it's so important. It's so important. It would have to be in there. We'll talk about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great.
We do have one question for you, Suhas, that I find really fascinating, and that is, what made you want to become an Ayurvedic doctor?
Well, I think growing up in India, I was born and raised in a traditional Rigvedic family. So, a Brahmin family where you're surrounded with all of these daily rituals and this way of living and thinking. And so many eminent Vaidyas were in my close family itself, where I grew up watching them. And they were bundles of knowledge. They didn't know only about practicing Ayurveda and herbs and food, but they knew Jyotish, they knew Vedanta. And so it was more like a guru, a teacher, a philosopher, a guide, a mentor, all rolled into one. And I was very intrigued by this way of practice. So as I finished my basic education, I pursued Ayurvedic training, and I continued. And I was very fortunate that as I completed my training, met my lovely wife, Dr. Manisha, who's also an Ayurvedic physician, and we were both invited by His Holiness Maharshi Mahesh Yogi, who was the founder of the Transcendental Meditation Group, and he invited us to come work with him and travel around the globe, talking about Ayurveda, teaching classes, designing courses, curriculum, starting schools, clinics around the globe. And we did that for many years, and we are still doing and working with the organization as such. So that has enriched, and I have met so many bright, smart, intelligent doctors, scientists around the globe, having lived in 39 different countries around the globe, raised my kids, traveling everywhere. So that imprint of where you come from as a rural Indian boy who's born and raised in that lineage, and testing that with the Western mind and Western lifestyle in different global cultures around the world, it kind of created a different understanding for my own self, how I look at my own culture, my own learning and teaching and training, and then compare that with a model of how we can write about it, talk about it very intelligently. And that's what I think has enriched me and all our kids and family together, because they're all inspired by this, because they've met so many beautiful people who are really, really smart and talented, and have selected this path of life. My son Manas is one of your faculty members, along with Dr. Manisha also. So as a family, as an Ayurvedic family, we like to take this forward and continue this way of teaching, training, thinking, acting, our clinic, our practice. Everything is all fused in one. And I think that's the wisdom of Ayurveda. Ayurveda is something that you don't do it for a living. This is what living is.
Lovely. Beautiful. There's a story you once told in a class early on with you about this, going up to Rishikesh and being with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. And the way I remember it is you said it was a week before he gave you any instructions. And then he sent you down the road to see the local Vaidya and watch how he practiced. Do you remember this story and what the message was of that?
I think it's a very interesting thing. So we were in Delhi, on the outskirts of Delhi, and there was
Oh.
this very eminent Vaidya who used to live in Haryana near Gurgaon, and he used to practice Ayurveda, and he used to practice only from sunrise to noon. So he, we were young Vaidyas, and Maharishi asked us, just go and take a look at it, what he does.
Mm-hmm.
So we left early in the wee hours, went there, and we saw his life. So he used to wake up before sunrise and go to the well, fetch a couple of buckets and pour on him, wash himself, and sit under a tree. So as the first rays of sun come out, there's a huge line waiting for people to see.
Hmm.
And he doesn't talk. He won't ask a single question. He has three little buckets in front of him. Only three herbs of Triphala, which is Amalaki, Haritaki, and Bibhitaki. Only three herbs. And then he used to give medicine for only 1 week. So the person stands and he has a couple of minutes to tell you what he is suffering from. He has a migraine, he has a terrible headache, he has this and that. He's telling them, he listens to them, look them into their eyes, and then puts his hand into 1 pinch here, 2 pinches here, 3 pinches here, mix them all together, tells them, one of their assistant tells them to take it with buttermilk, and then out the door. The second one comes and then tells that they have menstrual pain and this and that, and he pitches 2 from here, 3 from here, 1 from here. Different permutations and combination of the same 3 herbs with a different vehicle that takes it with warm water, with buttermilk, with this at this time, at that time, and everyone got better.
Amazing.
Same 3 herbs, the same combination of Triphala, everything got better. And when we came back, Maharishi asked us, what did you learn? He said, he was just giving Triphala to everyone. And he says, you didn't understand what he was doing.
Uh-huh.
And we scratched our head and we said, it's just Triphala. And we were all smart Ayurvedic students and we know the properties of all of these herbs and everything and all the yogas and all. He said, you didn't get the point. He said that with his energy as a Vaidya, while he was listening to them, looking into their eyes, he touched the herbs and changed the property of the herb that he was holding in his hand before he gave it out to them. So he changed with his own energy the matter. And if you ever develop this capacity as a Vaidya, while you are feeling the pulse, you are healing them. While you are giving them any simple remedy, that will become the nectar for them. Because it's your energetic way of healing them as a real compassionate healer. And if you develop this technique, then you will be a good master healer. Same with words. Same with words. Because as a Vaidya, you give recommendation. Is that right? And there are tons of recommendation on Instagram everywhere. Do this, that, eat that, don't that.
Yeah.
But when a recommendation comes, even as simple as drink hot water first thing in the morning from a Vaidya's mouth, that becomes a mantra for that person. And there's a Vedic sutra which says Siddha Vaidyastu Mantrikaha. A Siddha Vaidya is like a mantric, where his word become a mantra for that person. They might have heard the same things from so many people, but when you say that to them, that becomes a mantra which completely sinks deep into their psyche and motivates them and inspires them. And that's where healing happens.
That's how I experience you, because every day you're still in my mind, telling me to have my hot water in the morning. I hear your voice. And there isn't my healer. It's beautiful. Do you know what? There's some research that just came out of Harvard. Professor Ted Kapchuk did some amazing research that showed the number one ingredient for healing is the practitioner. Their healing words, their healing thoughts, and their healing behaviors. It's the practitioner. They said beyond anything else that you might offer somebody, it's how you interact with your client or your patient.
And the time you give them.
That's amazing.
The time you give them and the way you listen. and the way compassionately you tell them. Because there are many things that I can't do anything for this client. They are in their terminal stages of some kind, but they still come to you because they feel they simply feel good talking to you, having you feel their pulse.
Yeah,
Just
the
that
human element.
interaction, that healing session is for ages. This is always called as a noble profession, and there is a reason why we call it a noble profession, because there's nothing better than helping someone in their most difficult moment of their life. They remember you forever, forever. And so I have clients that I've been treating for 25 years now. And it's not that I'm their primary care physician or anything. They just every year they call me, they sit with me. Many of them have put some of the recommendations on their refrigerator door because they say that every time I follow these things that you told me 10 years ago, it still works.
And sometimes you'll have that client that you only saw once or twice, and you bump into them 20 years later, and they're like, "What you told me to do changed my life."
Yeah, that's true.
And I think it is a very interesting interaction. I think when I compare Ayurveda with Western medicine, where they have 5 or 7 minutes to talk to patients and look at their labs, and only very dry form of medicine, and they don't have trust in their doctors. The doctor doesn't trust the patient. But what we do as real healers from an Ayurvedic perspective, and all the students, I have seen many of them become excellent healers, including both of you, because you have learned, you have understood, you have helped, you have gotten good at what you do, and more importantly, you can carry the information, you embody that, you think this way, you live this way, life becomes a sadhana for you, and then whatever you do is becomes a mere extension of how you do things, and people can feel that aspect more quickly.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. I think on reflection, and especially with James, what you see is, I think the people who go from student to practitioner well have a degree of devotion that I think is especially important. I only hope that I can take everything that you've taught and other teachers that I've had and pass it forward, right? And I think that's what's such a blessing, I would say, at least for me.
And I have always said that when people are enrolling for a new course or a program starting, and they ask me that how will it help me, and is it worth $10,000 to spend on this thing? And I said, even if it improves the quality of your life by 2%, it is worth the investment.
That's right.
Even 2%, because everything that we study, when we spend thousands and thousands of dollars to study information that we will never use in our life at all. Most of the college education is like that. But here, everything, every word that is being said and shared in the class, you will need this 24/7.
So
And that's
true.
worth the investment of your time and money.
James,
Fantastic.
wow, what a conversation.
I know. Well, Suhas, thank you for bringing the inspirations of your life to us and to our students, and we're in your debt forever.
Well, I
Thank
think
you.
we are a part of this team. We're a part of this team where all of us are passionate about what we do, and we're
Yeah.
passionate about sharing that with our patients and students alike.
Mm.
I don't do this for my sake. You are doing this for us, and we are doing it together as a part of it.
Thank you.
Because every candle has a job and responsibility to shed the light, whatever little they can do. And that's what we're trying to do. There's a pretty dark, ignorant world around us, and whatever we can do to shed the light and bring the light of knowledge and hope to people, that's what we are here to do. We wish a great success for Seventh Institute to become a premier Ayurvedic institution, because we have excellent quality Ayurveda teachers, educators, and we'll get a truckload of students who are going to take forward.
We're doing our best to bring them to you. Thank you so much, Suhas.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Suhas. Beautiful to be with you.
Good. And Laura, whenever you're ready. Okay. Let me know.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love the funny show.
Thank you.
Yeah, love Manisha.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Wow, that was.
Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to one of the pre-recorded interviews as part of the Ayurveda Masterclass Program Open House. Laura and I are hosting um, a group of sessions to really introduce you to some of the most phenomenal instructors you're going to find anywhere, maybe in the world. And I don't want to overstate that, but it is true. These are really incredibly gifted teachers. These are the faculty that make up the masterclass program. And today we have with us the esteemed David Crow, who is our instructor for the Ayurvedic aromatherapy course. He, of course, is a very broad and deep well of knowledge on all things Ayurveda, also Chinese medicine, essential oils. He is the founder of Floricopia, which is an incredible essential oil company that's been around for many years. He's been in this wellness industry for 40 years, and he is a deep, deep source of knowledge on everything related to Ayurveda, herbal medicines, essential oils, and really speaks to the depth of traditional medicines from many places around the world, not just India, but also Central and South America, Africa, Taiwan, Burma, Nepal, India. So, David, thank you for joining us today. We're really, really, really grateful to have your time.
Thank you, James, for inviting me. Laura, nice to see you here.
So I thought we would spend just a few minutes just sort of talking through what your role in the Savanti team is and what you're teaching, and see if we can dig a little deeper into the various topics that you're offering. And Laura, do you have any thoughts on what questions we might run by David?
I would love to ask David some questions. David, I agree with James that you're a phenomenal teacher and that you have a unique approach and insights to plant wisdom. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about your course, the one that you teach with Savanti. What do you cover and what is the essence of your teachings?
Nice. Okay. The course is titled Ayurvedic Aromatherapy, and that implies several different things. So, first of all, to sum up the content, what we are doing is two primary things. It's a class that happens over 3 full days, and we have done this every year now for 7 years, and there are 7 primary modules that happen in those 3 days. Now, the term Ayurvedic aromatherapy might evoke different ideas for people, but the two primary concepts with that term is, first of all, what is done in Ayurveda that constitutes aromatherapy? And then second, how do we use the Ayurvedic system, the cosmology and the terminology and the principles and the concepts to translate the use of essential oils and aromatherapy into an Ayurvedic approach? So the first question is what we cover in the beginning of the class. In other words, how is Ayurveda aromatic? And that is a beautiful subject to explore because Ayurveda is aromatherapy. Really, that's the simple answer, is that virtually everything in Ayurveda smells good. Virtually everything has aromatic plants in it. So if you go to an Ayurvedic treatment center, a resort, a spa, a clinic, the first thing you'll notice is the fragrance when you walk in, and that's because the medicated oils are cooked with aromatic plants. There are aromatic plants that are used in the steam treatment, the herbs that are formulated into pills and powders and ointments and jellies and jams. Every single form of Ayurvedic medicine contains aromatic plants. And that means that the essential oils are being used because the aromatic plants contain the essential oils as the primary active constituent. So Ayurveda then is actually a form of aromatherapy, and we get the benefits through the treatments and through the use of the herbs. But there is no real counterpart for the contemporary definition of aromatherapy. So the contemporary definition of aromatherapy is we have these essential oils, and then we use them for their aromatic benefits, and that's aromatherapy. But in Ayurveda, the essential oils are not used like that. And that's somewhat of a paradox because India is one of the world's largest producing regions of essential oils for all kinds of purposes, perfumery and for the contemporary aromatherapy purposes and so forth. Now, we start with this idea that Ayurveda is aromatherapy. And in that, what we find is that there are all of these ways that medicines are administered. And from that, we can actually learn how to use essential oils safely. We can learn that there are all of these medicated oils that are prepared, and we can actually use those oils, like something famous like Mahanarayan oil. We can use a classical Ayurvedic oil as a base to put essential oils into. So we're actually learning how to combine classical Ayurvedic aromatic medicines with contemporary essential oil uses. So we learn safe uses of essential oils if we study the treatment methods of Ayurveda. And this is a really fundamental part of what we need to know about essential oil use, is they're highly, highly concentrated and they can hurt people. They have hurt a lot of people through improper uses, which is mostly just fraudulent marketing. But what we do then is we look at how does Ayurveda use aromatic plants, and that's the beginning. Then we move into the cosmology, the terminology, the principles of Ayurveda, because really Ayurveda is a system of defining and classifying and categorizing how to use everything, how to use foods, how to use herbs, how to use essential oils if we want. And therefore, what we do is we take the principles of Ayurveda and we ask a basic question. We say, how can we define essential oils? Because essential oils are relatively new. They have not been widely available until fairly recently. They were all used in these aromatic plant forms like we find in Ayurveda. But now we have these highly concentrated extracts of aromatic plants. What do we want to do with them? How do we want to use them? And so we can go to Ayurveda and we find that, well, we've got all of these concepts. Let's go through and let's study essential oils and learn what they are in Ayurvedic terms. And so the course is basically how we do that, what we do with that. We study essential oils as prana. What does that mean? Well, it means that we can define essential oils using the term prana. And that gives us all kinds of valuable information about how to incorporate it into treatments. We can study the use of essential oils in relation to the 15 sub-doshas. That's a big part of the program. And that teaches us how to use essential oils according to the different aspects of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha in a very detailed, clinically oriented way. And that tells us a lot about what essential oils are and how to use them safely. We can use concepts like Ojas and Agni and Soma and Ama. And we go through basically, and we just take these Ayurvedic terms that are the foundational structure of Ayurvedic medicine. And we say, what does Ayurveda say about contemporary use of essential oils? Not just how to use them safely in these kind of classical methods, but also how can we understand essential oils and aromatherapy according to this Ayurvedic terminology? That is a brief summation of the program.
It's beautiful. You know, when you're speaking about how India is such a prolific producer of flowers and plants and essential oils, I was thinking about the sandalwood, the marigolds, the rose, and the jasmine that is often used in sacred ceremony. Any thoughts on that?
Well, that's a beautiful example of an industry. I was really struck by this in my travels in India, many journeys and in different areas to study plant medicine, to study Ayurveda, and to study distillation and aromatherapy. And that included a lot of visits to the herb, to the flower farms, the herb farms, to the sandalwood forests, seeing the botanical sources, the environments that these plants come from. And one of the things that I was very struck by was the flower farms and the flower markets that are in every small and big city all over India. And this really got my interest because of the role of flowers in Indian culture everywhere. So the revelation that came out of it to me after talking to many different farmers and seeing what these flowers primarily were being used for garlands and for offerings, you know, and festivities. I was really intrigued by what is the role of flowers in India. And what I learned was that it is an industry that supports millions and millions of people, and it has absolutely no purpose whatsoever except aesthetic. And that's a wonderful thing to consider, that you can actually have an entire agricultural industry that does nothing but produce beauty for religious purposes. And so the farmers all said, well, the flowers are our most lucrative crop. And that's because they're so widely used. But then from the aromatic standpoint, I was also very impressed with my visits to the sandalwood forests, which are in various areas of South India that I visited, and seeing how the old trees, like the sandalwood trees and the agarwood trees, these trees are the foundation of agroforestry. They are basically ways that we can preserve ecosystems. So it was a wonderful visit to places like the Cardamom Hills and seeing how this understory of cardamom plants grows in relation to these old growth trees that preserve the ecosystem. And the Cardamom Hills have been producing cardamom for centuries and centuries, and those trees are still there, the same ones. And they're covered with black pepper vines, and they're, you know, basically the forest produces wealth. So that's a really good example of another aspect of aromatic plants is the ecological preservation and the sustainability part of it.
Beautiful. I think
Wow.
I think what you're showing, you're demonstrating is how profoundly unique your insight is, right? So that students of Savanti get such unique insight, such a unique integration and understanding of these two sciences of Ayurveda and aromatherapy. It's brilliant.
I emphasize that when we are using Ayurvedic medicine, we should be knowledgeable about where the plants come from, because Ayurveda is a plant-based medical system. And the plant-based, all the plant-based medical systems have all of these different dimensions to them that practitioners should know about. I mean, I was a perfect example of this. You know, I came out of all of my training in acupuncture college, and I hadn't even met a plant, you know, and here I was supposed to be a trained herbalist, and all I had experience with was these, you know, dried things in a drawer, and I had never actually met the plants. And so this is a very important aspect of classical training is to meet the plants and to meet the environment that they grow in. And this starts to open up a much deeper understanding of, I guess, what we could call like the cosmological chemistry that's in the plant, because Ayurveda describes plant functions. And this is one of the things that we explore when we look at the essential oils, according to Ayurvedic terminology, is that the essential oils can be described in terms of Agni and Soma, in terms of sunlight and moonlight. And basically, essential oils are distilled sunlight and moonlight, and so are herbal medicines. And then we say, well, how did the plants concentrate sunlight? And we find that, okay, photosynthesis is driven by sunlight. And Ayurveda describes all of this. It's just that it's kind of hidden, it's kind of implied in the terminology. We have to explore and kind of find these hidden dimensions of Ayurveda that are there. But in Ayurvedic herbology, the plants are described as being made of the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, space. And that's absolutely correct. And then from that comes a system of taste. That's another aspect that we look at in the course. How do we describe essential oils according to the system of taste? Rasa, virya, vipak, and prabhav, the taste and the post-digestive effect and so forth. How do we describe essential oils that way? Well, it's very difficult because we don't eat essential oils. And, that's where all of the damage is coming from, is people ingesting them undiluted. Therefore, what we see, a very clear example, if a person takes an essential oil undiluted, and a real common injury happens from this fraudulent marketing about we can take oregano oil directly on the tongue. Well, that's a really good example of highly concentrated Agni, all right? It's pure sunlight. If you put a drop of oregano oil on your tongue, it will create an organoleptic physiological response. It's painfully burning. Okay, that's how Ayurveda developed its base of knowledge, was through body sensations, through awareness of what things are doing. So we can't take the essential oils, but we can learn that there are plants that are warming, and that means that they have more sunlight in them. And there are plants that are cooling, and that means that they have more moonlight in them. And we can take this study of what the plants are, and we can see that actually Ayurveda is telling us that plants are part of this cosmology of energies and elements. And we can understand that, okay, what we're really using here is we're using earth for healing, and we're using water for healing. We're using sunlight and moonlight for healing, and prana, life force, for healing. And then that same cosmology that describes taste and the functions and the fragrances and the effects of the plants is the same system we use to describe the physiology of the body. And therefore, what we're really doing in Ayurveda is we're just learning about this plant has this type of elemental balance, and your body has this type of elemental imbalance, and let's put them together. So that's a very interesting aspect of Ayurveda that I encourage students to think about and try to provide good examples of this to stimulate their interest in going deeper into Ayurveda, because Ayurveda doesn't really explain this in a lot of ways. We have to experience this through our own senses. And this is why Ayurveda is so profound, is that it is a system of cosmology. It's a system that we can perceive ourselves through our own senses. And if we go deeply enough into it, then we start to discover all of these dimensions that are there, but we just haven't really explored them much. So that's a very big interest that I have personally, and try to stimulate students and encourage students to think about these things.
David, is that what you refer to as ecological spirituality?
It's a very big part of Ayurveda. Ecological spirituality is a term that I have used to describe what I think Ayurveda is. So you know, I started off by saying, well, Ayurveda is aromatherapy, but we can also say, as you know, that Ayurveda is spirituality as well, because Ayurveda overlaps with different spiritual practices so clearly, and it comes from the same root sources. I mean, you know, Ayurveda comes from the Vedas, and the oldest Vedas actually were scriptures that were written, hymns to Soma, and Soma was an entheogenic plant. And so Ayurveda was originally inspired by these invocations, these songs of offering and gratitude and praise to a hallucinogenic plant. And nobody knows what it is, but that's an example of ecological spirituality. Then, well, that's a big subject. I better keep it brief here. But basically, in Ayurveda, we see that there is a direct correlation, many links between the lineages of medicine and the lineages of spiritual practice. And so we find, and this is universal also, this is also in Chinese medicine, Tibetan medicine, shamanic medicine, everywhere. We find that plants have always been harvested with reverence and prayer and prepared with mantra and song and all of these things. So spiritual practices have always been part of the medicine making process. And then administering the medicines have always been associated closely with prayer, visualization, blessing, and so forth. And I've seen some of these ceremonies, for example, in the Tibetan Buddhist lineages, I've seen ceremonies that go on for 7 days where hundreds and hundreds of people are reciting mantras that are all being directed into this big pot of herbs to baptize it, you see. So we see that Ayurveda is very closely related to the Vedas, of course. And so the philosophy and the practices are very much connected, just as Chinese medicine is very closely related to the spiritual practices of Qigong and Taoism and alchemy. And so this is another aspect of Ayurveda that I am very interested in, and it's ecological in nature, you see, because if we're talking about the elements that are in the plants, that's ecological. And then if we are blessing them with mantra, that's spiritual. So using the plants in a spiritual way is ecological spirituality. And in a certain way, we can approach that all the way to the medical side. And Ayurveda gives us beautiful terms like prana. And prana has all of these different levels of translation. Prana means the flow of intelligence. Well, where does that come from? It tells us very clearly prana emanates from Brahma, from the absolute. And so therefore, we can make a link and we can say, all right, what are my body sensations? They're nerve current. What is nerve current? It's prana. Where did prana come from? It came from the absolute. Well, the absolute then is manifest in our body. That's ecological spirituality. And then they say further, another definition of prana is that it's a manifestation of prajnatman, which basically means the intelligence of our soul is manifest in the physical body. To me, that's a real direct way to come face to face with creation unfolding inside our own physiology. And therefore, this has been very helpful for me to basically realize that all of these spiritual practices, even though in Buddhism they get very abstract and mental, and in Tantra they get very mythological and archetypal, and in Taoism they become very esoteric and alchemical, but everything is body-based, and everything ultimately is based on realizing the deeper dimensions of who we are. And so Ayurveda is just full of these terms and concepts that go back to Vedas, you see, and that's totally linked to Tantra and totally linked to all of these classical lineages. They have so much in common, but really spirituality, all spirituality is ecological in a certain basic way. Thank you for asking.
Beautiful.
I'm glad you asked that, James, because I was curious about that. Reminds me of Yata Pinde Tata Brahmande, like we are the microcosm of the whole.
Mm.
That's so beautiful. I'm so moved. This is such an exciting interview. Did you have any other questions, James?
I think we touched on everything. I mean, I want to keep going for 3 more hours, but
I do have one more question. Do you have time for me to ask?
I do, certainly.
Okay. Just one question for the people watching this and listening. Do you have anything that they could, just a little something that they could take home that might help their health, might help their mood? Just a little example that somebody could do at home as a takeaway.
Of course. Let's do something with aromatherapy. I'm sure that people have, that a lot of people have some exposure to aromatherapy already, maybe a diffuser, maybe you have a little lavender oil or some eucalyptus oil or something like that.
Mhm.
Now, one of the basic practices that I teach in the course and that we do is what we could call contemplative aromatherapy. And this is something that you can do, and it has two great benefits. All we do is we inhale the fragrance of an essential oil very mindfully, very slowly, carefully. Now, don't overdo it, because if you have a bottle of an essential oil and you just sit there and breathe it over and over again, you can start to irritate your sinuses. But just take a bottle of lavender oil, open it up, and just pass it under your nose and breathe it. Now, you may think, well, all right, this has some relaxing effects. I like the fragrance, or maybe you can breathe the eucalyptus and you can feel it opens the lungs a little bit. That's the beginning of the process. And that's about as far as most people go with herbal medicine. They just take things. They don't really delve into what's happening. And if we use our mind and pay attention closely to what's happening, then two very profound dimensions open up. First of all, we discover that our attention potentizes the effects of the herbs inside the body. And this is a remarkable thing. It has to do basically with how our mind is energy and how our attention focuses that energy and how that energy changes our physiology. And this is the basis of biofeedback therapy. You know, if you pay very close attention to one part of your body, you can change your circulation just by paying attention to it. So if you breathe the lavender oil slowly and deeply, but you do it very mindfully, really pay attention to the sensations as it comes in and affects the sinuses and then the lungs, and then feel how it spreads into circulation and feel how it enters into the brain and feel how it affects the nervous system. If you really pay attention to it, then you start to receive all of these body sensations that you weren't paying attention to before. Now, the question comes, what's actually happening if you are really receiving a higher level of body sensations? That means that you're potentizing it. Okay, it's getting stronger. And otherwise, your attention just wasn't doing anything with it. So this is the first profound lesson, is that when we pay close attention to an essential oil in a contemplative aromatherapy way, or herbs or food, then basically we can feel their effects in the body. And by feeling them at a deeper level, we are potentizing their effects. This is very profound because we have the capacity to make herbal medicine infinitely stronger in our physiology using our mind. So that's the first lesson. But then the second lesson is, if you pay close attention to the body sensations that the essential oil is producing, you are also inherently paying close attention to the aroma of the plant. And guess what that means? That means you're paying close attention to the sunlight that created that fragrance. You're paying close attention to the moon and the water and the soil and the genetic intelligence and the immune intelligence and the prana. You are paying close attention, not just to your body, but to the plant also. And that's where we really start to learn what the plants do. we pay very, very close attention to their prana, to their 5 elements, to their fragrance, to their taste. And then we start to really understand herbal medicine, both what the plant is cosmologically and what it is doing in the body physiologically. And we just take the whole experience and magnify it and discover all of these things that we normally don't even notice. So thank you for asking.
That's brilliant. Truly, this is like the demonstration of the brilliance of Ayurveda handled by a brilliant mind. And how talk about potentiating it can be. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, David. Thank you for giving us your time. And for all of you who are watching, I hope you took something away of great insight and practice. And we're really, really grateful, David, to have you on our team. Really, 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 really fortunate. You're a gift.
And thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate it and enjoy teaching. And thank you to everybody listening. And thank you also, Laura.
Yeah.
Honored to be with you guys both.
All right. Well, we will see, hopefully, if you're watching, hopefully we'll see you in the masterclass program. At the very least, take David's course. Drop in if you have to.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay. Take care, everybody.